Welcome, everybody, to the community broadcast for Challenges 2022. It's time for Elite Week number 2 here in Europe. My name's Infinity. I'll be joined by Proper for today. Andy, we're covering Europe. Going to kind of speed run this preamble, if you will, because I think the teams are basically ready to get underway. We have a very interesting week games, a couple of days of games ahead of us, I guess is the way we could describe this. 4 teams at 3-1 coming into week number 2, and so that means for basically everybody in the lower half of our table, everything is going to be a bit of a scramble to try and get wins where you can to try and qualify.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're basically holding your own for destiny to play into your favor. Maybe some of these top teams might lose out while you end up winning out for the rest of your matches, and you might just find yourself in the top 4 to be slotted into that double elimination bracket at the end of this road.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the match that we have on our hands here. The Originals going head-to-head with Young Galactics. Let's start the conversation very briefly here with the Originals then. Obviously, they come into this tournament today at 2-2. They obviously need to get quite a few wins on their hands to make their way through to the 4-team playoff bracket. Of course, there is hope, though, going head-to-head with Young Galactics. They did actually end up beating Sucre's Bakery, another Spanish team currently sitting in that top 4, 3-2 last week.
Yeah, and from out there and through all of their first weeks of play, their best overall map, or map mode, I should say, is Hardpoint. They're 4-3 overall. The 3 losses, though, when they were playing against other teams, they were by a hefty margin. And given how the roster does state itself, for this Originals roster, when you are thinking about it on paper, I mean, just think about the names. Furious, Grad, Rafi, and Nile. You would think that they would be just dominant in Search and Destroy. That hasn't necessarily been the case for this team.
Yeah, absolutely right. And this is the thing, actually, the whole conversation around this team in preseason thus far, especially considering we were playing 3 of them when the Originals were on board. 3 Search and Destroyers was what they were playing. They were extremely good in that game mode, but that's they've kind of separated away from that. They've distanced themselves from being the strongest S&D team here in Europe. At least that's what the stats show, right?
Yeah, I mean, so far as what the stats may be offering us is that for the Originals, they are 2-3. And again, coming away from everything that we had before we ended up getting control into the mix, Brody, you would almost assume that should be their strong suit, but against other elite teams where they're going for broke, where all the strategies do come out to play. Again, we're playing for a $50,000 prize pool at the end of the day, and a hefty amount of pro points to boot. You're going to end up almost being put to the brink, and it hasn't been going so well for the Originals. Young Galactics on the other side probably end up being 4-0, considering that they did go to a Game 5, Round 11 versus Moneyform in their first match, but ever since then, been winning out for us, Brody. But enough preamble. We got ourselves our first map, Tuscan Hardpoint.
Yeah, this is a map they need to win, of course. Hardpoint, we talk about the importance of this overall in the series. They are going up against a Young Galactics roster here, though, which are very good in Hardpoint, and this map will suit them, of course. We've spoken at length, Andy, about kind of the SMD pressure that this Young Galactics roster can bring to the table.
Nice little resurge coming back into P1 for the Originals. They lost the opening few gunfights, and they're actually able to find themselves a lot of space in the middle of the map. Niles now putting themselves inside of Vines. They're on 3 to start things off, and Young Galactics have yet to answer this. The only real player that is trying to marginalize this deficit so far as the opening break is concerned is you already got Riel trying to play for the spawns at the back.
Now, this is going to be important for Real, of course, in the backline. He is a disruptive player, basically at the best of times, and this is one of those opportunities here for Real to do some more damage for Young Galactics. Already picking up a nice 2-piece, looking for number 3 in the backline. It is going to be Furious. This is a player to watch for the Originals roster. Will take him down. Isn't done just yet, though. Furious has quite a few players to take down around that backline, and as he does end up falling, Young Galactics here, a great opportunity to really put the nail in early on.
Playing for the spawns will finally get them into effect here for Young Galactics, but the Originals are fully reading this. They're sending 3 players into the back over by all these head glitches that you have to offer, and the Originals are coming out absolutely swinging. They find themselves 3 in the feed. Not 2 players to deal with in the hardpoint, though.
Els trying to find his way on through, looking for these kills. It's going to be Real, unlucky also to pick up the gunfights. Metals trying to play his life. There's always that one pesky player for the Originals that the Young Galactics roster can't quite get rid of. Finally, they are going to deal with that threat with 20 seconds left, though. I think Young Galactics might be considering giving up this time so they can focus on this rotation. A couple of players going to be spawning up towards that rooftops area. They'll recognize that somebody has actually slipped the net and deal with them just as promptly. And this is a good opportunity here in this game, Andy, for Young Galactics to make this rotation work. We know this is one of the better rotations, the better hard points to be able to get a full 60 seconds on. So we'll see whether Young Galactics can do exactly that. The Originals right now kind of being gated off over towards that rooftops area. Keep an eye on Real on the minimap. We can see what he can do as this Originals roster now starting to come in for a 2-2 split. And there you go, Raffi in from the back, able to pick up 2. Furious with 1 of his own. And the Originals, while they don't have the numbers just yet, there is still one player here causing some problems.
Yeah, they had no idea where Real was coming from. Real actually ended up spawning in the backside of Church and had themselves a nice little pinch once they knew that the hit was coming through from maps. That's where they died previously. Young Galactics are able to entrench themselves inside of the hardpoint as well. One of the more annoying head glitches to deal with. You got Real even with an MP40 on the backside, creating a lot of space and opportunity for Young Galactics to push on forward. Is actually lucky to find themselves on a little bit of a spree. But again, it's all space being provided. Raffi's going to try to hit this one more time through the little alleyway. That's going to be okay if you are Young Galactics. Give up the back 10 seconds because, again, they're trying to play for the rotation.
Lucky. Trying to find his way through, as you say. That rotation will be crucial for Young Galactics here. You've also got Real in close proximity. So for these two players, these are going to be the ones that you really, if anything, for Young Galactics, are going to want to influence those spawns. That is exactly what happens, but the Originals, they're wise to it. They know exactly what is up here. They know that Young Galactics will have flipped those spawns, and Grad is absolutely ready for it. He's picked up that first kill. Looking for the second. Lucky right in front. Of course, Lucky now just going to wait out for the rest of the team. But the Originals so far doing a really good job at reading these spawns, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, the Originals since Frame 1, since P1, they've just been hitting everything together. They've been reading where Young Galactics are trying to coordinate their hits from, and they're dealing with them in kind. But now Young Galactics, they find themselves in space, given how they found a very convincing kill feed. They're getting themselves some pretty serious time, albeit it will just knot up the game just around the 66 margin. The Galactics understand that they're probably going to send 2 more SMGs to try to hit this one more time. Real up top, Ness trying to almost play for some rotational gunfights. They'll be cut down inside a radio. It's going to allow the Originals to almost work their way up from patio and try to contest for the initial time, Brody.
Well, there is one player over here already. It's going to be Metals. He has quite a bit to do, of course. Journey is coming in from behind. I don't think the Originals are actually aware of that whatsoever. So Journey walks away with a free kill there. Buy one, get one free potentially as well. As Journey comes in for the second. Unfortunately, Real going to take him out of the equation with that stun kill. But it is going to be Young Galactics at the end of the day in for this time. But Grad, what can he do about it? Coming in for the flank. Oh, nicely done from Journey. Up high he goes, crushing down like the hammer that he is. And Young Galactics, oh, they're in for it now.
Yeah, they're in for it. Absolutely wonderfully played out. As you call it, Journey was able to find themselves a little pinch play down low in bottom maps. And the only player that was going to be able to potentially upset all of this would have been Grad, but they got dealt with over by the rooftops. This is a lot of time that is going on to answer the Originals. You're going to have to hit this one more time for scrap. Keep in mind you that Young Galactics are still playing with these roof spawns, but finally getting in, the Originals will force them to spawn in over by the fountain. P3, if you will. One more gunfight to deal with. Raffi won't be able to take down Journey, but Furious was right behind them to be able to get that trade. So going into towards the second set, I mean, we can call that a pretty even game, right? You know, just about 7 seconds in between these two teams. Very competitive, but it's Young Galactics in for the initial time on 1. And they're really starting to heat things up. Real now up to 14 and 10, zoning away inside a church. They're keeping all the Originals isolated, and this is the cadence. This is the pace that we know Young Galactics like to play.
Of course, Furious being a problem, though, up top in that power position will be taking down a couple of players. However, they're not really dealing with the threat inside the hardpoint at the moment. Young Galactics still starting to soak up all of this time. Metals are going to put together a little spree. Remember, it is only 5 kills now here. This isn't professional COD that you need to get that glide bomb. He will be shut down at 4. Lucky now what he can do on the hard point. Well, he's pretty good with this automaton. Looking for some kills now with the rat pistol as well, but more than happy to just kind of waste time playing ring around the rosy. Lucky able to pick up 3. One more. He has a glide bomb to his name, but at the moment, I think, Andy, more than happy to kind of just soak up the time as we turn our attention over towards the rotation. Journey actually has a 1 versus 2 for the rotation. We'll end up losing it.
This is actually the biggest lead that we've seen throughout the entirety of this hardpoint so far. Keep in mind, you 137 versus 101. So the Originals being able to concede that last little bit of scrap time, setting themselves up for new, is the right play. And you're right to call out Lucky. They've been an absolute menace as far as Season 1 is concerned here for the Elite, leading overall for 1.38 KD. But the Originals are dealing with it kindly. Raffi almost drops down to take down Journey. But keeping things isolated allows Grad to pick things up there from the alleyway. Young Galactics looking to hit it one more time through radio.
Crucially, have removed Lucky from the place, and no glide bomb for him. Now as the hit comes through, can they deal with all of this pressure? Well, Young Galactics dominate the kill feed. Raffi able to come back for 2, maybe 3 actually. Raffi on 1 at the moment. It's the Originals who are still going to control this hard point now. 20 seconds remaining. Young Galactics perhaps want to go at this one more time. You do have to be careful not to overextend things, though, not to try and spawn the Originals out. I think now as the first couple of kills do come down in favor of the Originals, they're just going to back away, focus on this rotation. Journey from behind. We're looking for the kill onto one. I think that player did actually just end up falling to somebody else, as a matter of fact. So the Originals here now looking to push their way on through to this rooftop area. Young Galactics, though, they are ready for it. Nicely done by Lucky to zone off those players. There is a bit more pressure coming through on the other side, but Young Galactics doing a good job of dealing with it right now.
You have to pinch it from two different sides is how you break into three, which is why it took the Originals such a long time to get inside the hill in the first set. Young Galactics, though, having a lot of numbers inside the alleyway, are reading that the entire hit is actually coming through from Vines.
Here it comes, the pressure now starting to come through. A big moment here in this game for the Originals. They don't want to let Young Galactics start to walk away with this one. Talk about small leads. Had quite a lot of them so far, but Furious and Raffi combining for 3 means that the Originals will be looking for the last 20 seconds of scrap time. And these two teams at the moment, they cannot stay away from each other in terms of the scoreline.
And this is exactly what you expect when two teams are just that close. You'll see this in all different levels of Call of Duty. Playing for the scrap time, being able to at least guarantee yourself that back 20, being able to guarantee yourself the first initial. It was Chance that talked about this at the CDL kickoff. This is Vanguard hardpoint within a nutshell. If you can walk away with strong setups and get about 40, 50 points or so, well, that's guaranteeing yourself that it's probably more of a mismatch when it comes down to the mode as well. But Young Galactics and the Originals could not ask for two teams that are definitely very close as far as hardpoint is concerned, which is quite concerning considering Young Galactics, at least from Vanguard's launch, have been definitely the best hardpoint team that we have here in Europe as they find themselves set up for yet again, trying to read where the hit is coming from. Lucky will see one by the side door, but the pinstripe kill feed is starting to favor the Originals as they're getting spawns down by the column.
I was going to say it again, Young Galactics, they look like they might start to walk away with this one if they got that wave of kills in, but they don't. The Originals continue to hang on in this game. This is yet another 20 to 30 seconds of time that Young Galactics really don't want to give away. How much of a choice do they have in it, though? That's going to be the question here as Journey now looks to make his move forward. Nile, that last player left up. Raffi now coming through the side door as well. He is denied, and Young Galactics will look to get this scrap time, and now, again, this is one of the bigger leads we've had in this game, about 30 to 40 points between these two teams. The Originals now need to hold on to this rotation. It is going to be just Brad in there for now. Players coming into support. It's going to be Nile down low. This is a really nice setup coming through the Originals, and our first streak here in this game is Furious will pick up that glide bomb.
Be able to have that glide bomb going in towards the next set of hills, who is going to be crucial as playing the head glitch down here by the well. The last thing that broke up this hill for the Young Galactics was Journey playing out the flank, but the Originals immediately rectify that. They're starting to really put a big pin in towards the flank as for what is concerned, but Young Galactics, they do get those P3 spawns. They all hit from the rooftops. You can see what the kill feed means for them. Lucky will drop down. We'll find one more. That'll be the player that does have the shrieks. That is a very frustrating break if you are rooting for the Originals, because you cannot allow Young Galactics to soak up all of the scrap time. Expect them to try to contest this throughout the last 10 seconds.
And the Originals don't want to give this time up. They're still going to move in for it. Of course, Young Galactics also committing to this one. Of course, the Originals still do have that secret weapon of the glide bomb and the strafing run in the back pocket. We'll keep an eye on that moving forward as we move over towards the rotation. Raffi, the first player over here, has to support Nile over towards you. So Young Galactics, while they spawn up over towards that well, how much damage can they realistically do? The Originals looking to hold on here. Raffi going to get onto this dirty heady, looking for some kills with it, of course, as Metals and Lucky take down players around him, though Raffi finds himself an island left alone. It's going to be Young Galactics in for all of these kills, Andy.
They're going to be able to find themselves a nice little kill feed. Nile's going to try to clean this up, and that's a great call from Furious to be able to call in that glide bomb. That's going to give you the space. It's going to give you the ability to be able to cut down the middle of the map and get your teammates in for P1. What are they counting heads? This is what it mostly comes down to, because Journey is going to find themselves some timing, and they're going to throw some shots. Furious should reach out this and almost expect it to come all the way through. The hit from the opposite side of the ruins is successful. Journey trying to go for another 2, but as it continues to scrap on out for P1, just 10 seconds remaining. Going to guarantee yourself that rotation going over towards 2.
Yeah, that's the important thing here to look at. Of course, that rotation. Young Galactics making sure they did stay on that side of the map so they could rotate. They only need 8 seconds on the back of this hardpoint. Make it 7 now as that final tick does come through. I don't even know if the Originals can get to the point to touch this. I think one player might be able to. That's Raffi inside. Royale is waiting for it. And Young Galactics, with the decision-making in the final moments, able to close out a tense map number 1.
That was really tense. 252-10 the final scoreline here for us as far as the Husky and hardpoint is concerned, but I'm sure it was a lot closer than what Young Galactics were almost assuming it to be. But the Originals, I mean, again, you know, when you come into it, they were 4-3 overall, and hardpoint now, of course, 4-4. Hardpoint has been their boon of success, but it comes down to taking series off of a lot of different teams. They won the 2 hardpoints versus Sucre's Bakery last week, giving them that 3-2 win. But I think even so, when you're looking past that, the Originals from week 1 into week 2, I mean, they're coming with a certain amount of sauce, Brody. I mean, they were playing so well, just being able to keep it scrappy. Nile and Furious being able to cut a lot of different angles in Tuscan, as we know that a lot of SMGs can find value with. But then we go back to Young Galactics. Again, they are the best hardpoint team that we currently have here in Europe, barring a couple other map losses that we have seen from them in Season 1 of the Elite, and maybe a couple other throughout the Cups. Historically, since Vanguard's launch, Young Galactics are able to exemplify what you just saw there at the tail end of 2, and then going in towards the 3rd. Being able to play together, being able to communicate with each other, being able to always clean up after a lot of damage and space being provided for one another, so that way an SMG, either Journey or Real, can work their way in from a flank up through the middle of the map and find themselves a nice little side angle to be able to give themselves an opportunity in an opening to be able to play either for the initial time, the rotation going in towards the next hard point, or even playing for the scrap time.
Yeah, well, here's our map set then. Off the back of that map number 1 victory, 250 to 210 for the Young Galactics from outer space. They're able to win map number 1. And the rest of the series here laid out in front of us is an interesting one, I think, looking at it overall. Of course, that next map will be Berlin for Search and Destroy, of course. That control on Tuscan, I think that is going to be a really tough map for the Originals to win, of course, if we do need it at Bacage Hardpoint. And the Desert Siege, Search and Destroy will close out the series. And I think, looking at this map set overall, Andy, that Tuscan control, just given what we know about how good Young Galactics are on this map mode combination, it really raises the stakes for this Search and Destroy in Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, look, we only have 2 maps when it comes down to control. It's either the Gabatu or the Tuscan. Young Galactics coming into the higher seed, they get the choice of which map they don't want to play here in the best of 5, and it'll always be a hard veto on Gabatu. Ever since their first match that they played against Moneyform, one that they lost 1-3, they've only played Tuscan control from there on out. Could have been testing the waters, but ever since then, they've only lost a single round here in Season 1 of the Elite on Tuscan control so far, and that was to Revenge Tour when they started that miraculous reverse sweep. But this Berlin Search and Destroy is definitely going to be interesting. When you're thinking about the bans and the vetoes that do end up coming through, obviously Bocage and Tuscan were coming through from either of these 2 teams. I would have to assume that it was Tuscan Search and Destroy for Young Galactics and probably Bocage Search and Destroy for the Originals. And Berlin is something that we've seen these 2 teams play on quite frequently through the Season 1 of the Elite. All wins across the board when it comes down to Young Galactics. -1, that was against Moneyform in that round 11 when they did lose it out in a very crucial 2v1 in a post-plant situation. It was a barn burner to say the least. But for the Originals, they are 2-2 overall on this map mode combo. They lost 6-2 to Sukri's Bakery. That was their map 2. And then they also lost to Revenge Tour 6-4. I'm sorry, they've only won it 1 time, and that was actually a blowout. 6-0 to United Nations. 1-3 overall for the map mode, but obviously feeling comfortable enough to leave it in the pool to be able to play it here against the #1 overall team in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is the key thing looking at this roster. We kind of discussed this before we get into it, that like the Originals, the only map they've played so far this season on Search and Destroy is basically Berlin, right? And it's kind of crazy that this is kind of happening in a way, because you look at the 2 teams they faced on Berlin, right? I think it was Revenge Tour and Sukri's Bakery. And as you say, both of those were losses. So they're going up against arguably one of the hotter teams here in European challenges right now. Of course, Young Galactics coming off a Cup 5 victory, which was, by the way, bloody incredible because they did it from the lower bracket. But, this Originals roster, they are skating on thin ice here in this series. This is going to be tough because, as we've already said as well, this is, I think, the key thing looking at Search and Destroy and looking at the Originals. Like, the whole storyline coming into Elite Stage 1 has been that the Originals were this monumental Search and Destroy team. Like, all they need to do in any given series is basically take a respawn because it is a given that they're going to win the Search and Destroys. It kind of feels that that's kind of slipped in a way, if you will. Like, they somehow, I think a lot of teams maybe just got better at Search and Destroy around them, have kind of adapted to the strategies that the Originals have been bringing to the table. Nonetheless, I think this is going to be an uphill battle for them for sure. I'm really looking forward to it. But while we're waiting for map number 2 to get underway, let's take a moment to talk about this Young Galactics roster, because we didn't really get a chance to going into the series, going into that map, Andy. And Young Galactics, they have kind of an interesting story here. They were coming into week number 1. They faced the hottest teams they possibly could have in the opening day.
Yeah, I mean, that round 11 map 5 loss that they had against Moneyform, that was their very first match. Ever since then, they have a lot of notable wins across the board for this team. The reverse sweep versus Revenge Tour, you and I were losing our marbles while we were actually casting over top of that. They completely wiped the floor with United Nations and Flux Esports. So there's still one more team that they do have to end up facing for themselves. I might be able to give them a little bit more pushback. That'll be either later today or tomorrow. I'm not too sure which one the schedule might end up playing out. But regardless, for Young Galactics, I mean, they're constantly just showing us why they are the #1 team overall. They have themselves such a strong map win percentage across all different game modes. They're 4-2 in Hardpoint, 4-2 in Search, 3-1 in Control. Well, now 5-2 in Hardpoint, winning out that Tuscan Hardpoint. But even still, it's something that you almost expect from this roster that are being represented by some of Spain's finest. Journey, Lucky, Metals. They've been playing together for so many years at this point. Real, this newcomer, just freshly turned 18. If you're unfamiliar, you definitely want to get in the know for what Real has to offer for this team. Obviously, on the back end, when Real was still 17, still competing in a lot of S&Ds and other variant tournaments, OLTs in the European region, Real was actually playing with this core 3. So there is a lot of extensive practice, but ever since they just started finding themselves playing with each other, Real has been an absolute sponge, just being able to be that tandem SMG duo that Journey has always been looking for.
Yeah, well, here's a look over towards one of the matches going on right now, TMT versus Flux Esports. Map number 1 about to conclude as TMT take that 1-0 lead versus Flux Esports. Let's talk about the former roster here in Flux Esports, because coming into stage number 1, they really did feel like this season's Team 3G in a way, and I don't mean that as a slight against Team 3G from last year whatsoever, because they were a pretty good team, as are Flux Esports, but they kind of do feel in a way like, I don't know, the underdog, if you will, of stage 1 for Europe. They come in here, they upset Signs to qualify for stage 1, Andy, and, well, Flux... they're 0-4 right now. That's all I can really say. They're not having a good go of things.
Look, Flux Esports only have 2 map wins, and those 2 map wins are on Search and Destroy, which is almost what you expect from this roster. 11 Sean Snake and Bearish Corey all have themselves extensive practice when it comes down to Search and Destroy. Almost everything that we've been talking about for the originals, you can kind of half that differential, and you can put into Flux Esports. They come up from the European Search and Destroy scene. We'll have to see if they can continue to play upset versus any other maps going forward, because there's just simply no way, coming into week number 2 here for day 3 of the season 1 of the Elite, that you will probably end up qualifying. Would have to be something miraculous that I don't even think would be numerically possible for them to be able to qualify for that double elimination bracket. We still want to show some strengths for that Flux Esports. We'll be keeping a close eye on our other matchups as well. Money4 were able to beat United Nations 250 to 198 on that Tuscan Hardpoint to start things off for their series. And, of course, on the main broadcast, Alan I Hold Shift and Austin Visions will be taking you through Sukri's Bakery and Revenge Tour, which seemed to be an absolute barn burner. So it was only a 4-point difference that Revenge Tour won on that opening Berlin Hardpoint.
Well, that's going to be an incredible game. I'll wait to see how that one concludes. As back to this one, though, it's going to be Berlin Search and Destroy. As is always the case here with the Clutch broadcasts, we're not going to get a mini-map for you guys at home. We will get is some incredible gameplay. And right out the gate here, we're seeing some trades going back and forth. 2 versus 3 for Grad and Furious. Journey trying to make his mate in from behind into the A-bomb site. Lucky coming in for the support there. You love to see the teamwork here from Young Galactics. It is just Furious left up last alive, and it won't be for long.
Yeah, and the last island player will be picking them up. I mean, so hard to be able to cover all of your crosses, especially when Furious was that last player that had to almost play up inside top fire and wait for the flank to come all the way through, but the rest of their team just got absolutely millywhopped on the A-bomb itself. Journey putting them on skates, and then Lucky for the pinch. And this gives us a little bit more time to talk about how much of a menace Lucky has truly been. I talked about their overall 1.38. They have a 1.28 in Hardpoint, but Search and Destroy, they've been a phenom. They have a 2.26 KD, not KDA. KD, and the brunt of that has been coming out of their sniper rifles.
Yeah, Lucky. He's just a force. He really is, right? He's just been a player that's been so horrible to deal with for those playing up against him this season thus far, and is well on his way to earning the unofficial trophy for MVP, at least from my perspective. I'm sure as well from yours, Andy, this season thus far in Europe. That being said, we're well into this round already. Journey trying to trade things out, trying to outplay the player up top there right around him. It is now a 2 versus 2, though, as Real is going to pick that gunfight against Grad. And I think the thing is, for basically everyone here, everyone's pretty split up. And if one of these players falls, it's highly unlikely to be any trades. Journey, there you go, will end up falling out of the round. Real, nowhere to be found. It's a 1 versus 2.
Knows that the bomb still has to be planted, and from the originals, being able to take down Journey was that island player. It's inside and out of Mail. The rotation's going to be all the way over towards B. Real's going to clear out all of the concourse, understanding that at least Furious will be up inside top fire. That'll be their immediate look gap of Furious. You don't have to give up that position. Reads that Real is going to be coming down from the staircase through the courtyard, and they're going to end up dealing with that in kind. So it's gonna be interesting, to say the least, going forward, how the originals might be able to deal with Young Galactics. You just have to be able to play against the strengths. We know the Young Galactics, specifically from their SMGs, will try to get aggressive. If you can just post up, wait for those aggressive plays to come all the way through, try to read it best as possible, You will more often than not get those first bloods, get those numbers advantage, and you'll probably be able to get a lot of map positioning off of it.
1-to-1 we go here in this round. Oh, there it is. Lucky with the sniper rifle. You'll love to see it. These are the plays you wanted to see. Those cross-map snipes are relatively hard to hit. Lucky makes it look easy peasy lemon squeezy as we go 3 versus 4 very early on here.
That information, you're just going to end up bringing this all the way over inside of A. Lucky is in the most aggressive position I have seen in quite some time with the Kar 98K. It's just holding that angle, just expecting somebody to pinch all the way through. But you take a look at least from the X-ray, the Originals are trying to work their way in from the back. They deal with the first. That was Nile. Furious will take down Metals in return. So the flank play is still in effect, but a numbers advantage here for the Galactic.
The thing is, though, the Galactics, they can kind of just move away from the site with the sniper rifle that Lucky has and play this a little bit more cautiously. That being said, I think now they might have to get a bit more of an iron grip over the site. Journey will end up falling. Now there's just Furious left up. 18 seconds on the clock for him to pull off something magical. And Lucky... Ooh, okay, I thought Lucky was going to turn on him for a second there, but Furious, of course, playing for the kill. Now looking for the final one. It would give him the strafing run alongside the glide bomb, which he's already got. But I think he already knows he can't really win the round. So if he gets the kill, well, why not? He's actually going to get it for free, Andy.
Yeah, it's going to put them on 6. That'll be the strafing run. To your point, already got themselves the glide bomb. So those resources are going to be massive going forward. Again, the strafing run and the glide bomb, if you're unaware, can absolutely take care of enemies inside of the B hut. It'll take you down. I don't care if it's made out of bricks. The big bad wolf that are these streaks here in Vanguard will blow that hut down. Of course, metaphorically, not literally. That would be crazy destructible resource to see, and almost like decoy at the beginning of the season for us. But still a 1-round lead. Young Galactics playing to the strengths of being able to at least extend the game clock. It's going to be a hit over towards the A site here. As Furious will find first blood, but they're going to read that they got Real down low. No, going to even up the odds 3v3.
Real still has quite a lot of work to do here as well. I think thinking better of it in that particular position. I don't even think he's going to get away here as Rafi hunts him down. Out of the round he goes. 2 versus 3 we go as well. Journey and Metals both kind of split up here on opposite ends of the map. It is just now the latter left up in a 1 versus 3. If he can stop the plant, this would be a lot more manageable. But as he faces down Rafi up top on the steps, he will be taken down. The Originals, well, had to win for them.
Yeah, and that was a great round coming through. Again, it's all off of the beams that came through at the beginning of that round, taking apart the player that was inside the office, just playing a very aggressive angle defensively. Was that player for Young Galactics inside of the A-bomb? Give themselves a quite good look at to potentially find first blood, but very hard to be able to scout players that just aggressively push themselves up towards that doorway. Can see through. The Originals playing to the strengths, playing off the back of Furious, who on their second life has still not been cut down. 7 in a row for them. See if any of these set nates find any information. It was actually a 3-player stack for the Originals over by the upper courtyard, where the Young Galactics are trying to play for this B execute, but it allows Real to surface themselves, be able to find first blood. Opens up Metals to find the second.
Good first bloods coming in here from Young Galactics, Rafi and Nile. How much do they play this together? How much of a choice do they really have in this particular position, to be honest with you?
Yeah.
Johnny looks to get this bomb down. It's going to get even harder here as well, right, Andy? Because if you get this bomb down, it's almost impossible to retake.
You don't have the streaks to be able to fall back on either, so Journey's just going to... I was just going to break open these doors, but the way that Young Galactics are playing this, they're 100% benefiting from Real on the flank. We'll find Rafi up top. It's Nile all left alive in a 1v3 with a retake. Tell by the canter of my voice, it's probably not going to be happening. Nile just probably doesn't want to be feeding any streaks. Would love to be able to build theirs even more so. Got to really respect the opening play when it came out from Young Galactics. And just say, almost calling the bluff. The Originals thought it was going to be an A hit because they know that Furious does have streaks. Very scary call to be able to put yourself over inside the B zone, especially if Furious was in a position to be able to put down that strafing run and stop the push from coming all the way through. But see Nile just holding their life inside the corner. Does not want to be giving up this kill for free. Young Galactics taking the round off of a fantastic early execute. Again, 3 players over towards that B site, Brody. 2 inside of mail, 1 over by the truck itself. Just allowed Real to surface themselves and catch 2 players on rotation. They did find the first, but it allowed Metals to then pop out for mail and find the second. With an early numbers advantage like that, the Originals were already in an uphill battle to try to defuse that bomb, let alone get inside the B hut. Made it even less doable when they lost their numbers.
Furious still has these streaks to remind a few folks at home, so the Originals do have that advantage for any given round that they do end up wanting using them. For now, though, the Originals here on this offensive round, they do have a couple of players over towards A. This glide bomb now coming through from Furious, it doesn't actually get anything, but that will be information earned.
Yeah, and they know that there's going to be multiple players inside of this lobby. The door's not open, so these nades won't be able to connect onto Grad, who does plant the bomb.
Slips away as well. That's crucial. Rafi now in from behind will be taking out Journey, so for Young Galactics, this retake gets even harder. Real is inside. But how much damage can he do before he is taken out? Looking for the long-range shots against Rafi. We'll put a couple in, of course. So we'll surely know here that somebody is probably down to the right of the stairs. Unfortunately, didn't actually predict that Grad was pushed up the stairs in that particular position. Now it's a 1 versus 2 for Medals as the numbers will fall down. Not a lot of time here to work with if you're Medals, to be honest, and the Originals, of course. I mean, just that's a really strong round from them.
Yeah, just a really tough post plant to try to break up. I mean, once you deal with the player up in the upper courtyard, Rafi puts himself over by this upper courtyard area and has himself a great angle to look at the bomb if it does end up getting hopped on. If that first kill does come through from Real, but again, time was your immediate adversary. If you are Medals, very unfortunate when you actually had it unfold for Young Galactics. Had one player try to work their way up through the courtyard stairs via the train yard. Give a little bit of a chest bump. I believe that was lucky. Did not find the kill. Smoke is out. And that is not GA'd here in EU. So 1 smoke per search and destroy is being utilized to be able to cover the cross. A little bit of a bait play. Keep in mind, it's going to keep Young Galactics guessing, and not unless they find any information off their stuns and nades. But given how they're not moving aggressively and towards one of these sites, they're going to try to call the bluff that it wasn't, in fact, a fake. These players for the Originals were, in fact, stacked over towards A. It's just one player that's over here. It's going to be Grad.
Rest of those players pushed up over towards B. Furious might have a route in from behind. Young Galactics taking their time with this one. I think they might regret it sooner rather than later if the Originals are able to get off. And that's a nice nade from Lucky.
Wow.
Lands right at the feet of Niall. You can tell he's been practicing those ones. Looking for the snipe as well. We'll get it. There's another player in close proximity. More importantly, though, I don't think it really matters about... I was going to say it didn't matter if he gets the kill or not, but he is so sharp with the rat. What? He used his entire arsenal in that round, Addy. He used the sniper, he used the nade, he used the rat. Lucky's the best damn player in Spain.
I'm not going to sit here and argue with that. That's, oh, that got me feeling some type of way, Lucky. Give me some more of that. Again, 2.26 KD in Search and Destroy in week number 1. And you're seeing why. Give me a little right thumbstick, Jimmy. Lucky just trying to see if any players try to cross here inside the B site. Exactly what the play's going to be looking like for the Originals. They are posting themselves up inside a mill, and Furious gets a little aggressive. Of course, we'll end up going 1-for-1 versus Journey, but it all ends up opening the middle of the map, leaving Lucky alive in a 1v2.
Well, this is pretty quick, isn't it? Lucky in a 1 versus 2. I think in this particular position, of course, Lucky, while the 1 versus 2 is more than possible, might be better off playing for the streaks. He's actually spotted out Grad, looking for the kill. He will get it. Grad is going to gift him a free kill there. And now, I mean, what? 30 seconds is a lot of time to make any clutch happen. Lucky's taken a pretty long route, though, to make this one work. I think he's basically just trying to be safe. The glide bomb is practically worth more than this particular round win, although if you can get it, hey.
Find him.
For the best, and as you say, might find him. Niall has no idea. He is completely and utterly just chilling. Lucky gonna walk away with a round victory as long as he gets to the defusing time. I thought for a second there he might take his time walking to the bomb, but it's all good. Lucky wins the round, and that is huge. Of course, will get the glide bomb as well.
I mean, just massive plays overall. This is why we talk about Lucky as the best Search and Destroy player right now in Europe. I mean, talk about the mental games, right? You end up finding that first kill. They know that Lucky's probably posted up on the backside just outside of the lobby. And then they reposition themselves over by the statue. They find one player trying to almost get aggressive to push Lucky out from that sniper positioning on that B street. Catches them on the cross. And if you're Niall, you're almost expecting that Lucky's going to wrap all the way back around from the warehouse. So you lay on your belly expecting for yourself to be in the clutch position. Just what a heads-up play from Lucky. Now puts the boomstick away. Has that glide bomb to play with. You're on map point for Young Galactics. You could just call it out here. Going to be playing off the information from the nades. Knowing that the streak is absolutely in play. Comes the glide out of Lucky. See if they can get a free kill with it.
We'll walk away with 1. So that's Niall done, of course. And again, the information you gain, it's invaluable. They know exactly where these last 3 players are. And now look at the aggression coming through. Metals in a broken he goes. Taking out Rafi. Brad and Furious, what do you got for us? Well, actually, Furious will end up using that strafing run, which he earned all the way back in like round number 2. Now makes it a 2 versus 2, but as Metals takes down one, the other one goes as well. Young Galactic 6-3 victory. It was a close one, I think, at the start of the game. As Lucky started to heat up, though, especially with that 1 versus 2 clutch, it really just run away from the originals.
I mean, it's even more than that, too. It's their ability to call out their bluffs, right? And that little bluff play that came through that one smoke in the defensive round for the originals on the upper courtyard side, they wanted to call out the bluff, saying that we have 3 players that are stacked over here. The originals were trying to tell Young Galactics that we have players stacked inside of the A bomb. Don't come in here. Young Galactics are so wise. They saw, it had to have been like at least 2 or probably another stun that came through out from the B docks over towards Mail, where the 2 players for Young Galactics were posted up and they're like, haha, you can't fool us. They immediately just wrap all the way back inside of A. That was when we saw Lucky go on an absolute tear with the sniper rifle. The first round, I should say, for the latter, where they ended up getting the clutch. But even still, it's just one of those things that is just so typical when it comes down to this Young Galactics roster, Brody, is that their ability to be able to adapt and almost outmaneuver your fake plays in Search and Destroy is, again, why we highly regard them as the #1 team in Europe. It comes through in Hardpoint, their adaptations, being able to play off of one against each other, and then also comes through in Search and Destroy. All of the information means something for this Young Galactics roster, and it all plays into full effect, especially when you have an absolute beam in the backline that is Lucky right now. Just undeniable in the Search.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. As we look over towards the replay here for Lucky, this is the play earlier on, which he lands that nade, by the way, a little bit earlier. But I don't even know. It's the fact that he's actually able to swing left as well to get that kill. Here's another one as well. It's the Lucky show, by the way, is what we're watching right now, as he ends up getting that snipe off. We can take a look over at the stat lines, though, and find out where Lucky finished. 11 kills to his name, 4 deaths. Just having an incredible go at things. 7 of those were non-traded kills. Just incredible plays. I think the whole roster really did contribute, though, and I think that's the key thing about this Young Galactics roster is, we talk about sort of strong teams in Call of Duty history. When you have a full roster of players that can go off at any one time, I think that is one of the strongest things to have on your roster, and it works just so well for this team.
They all have a role, right? I mean, when you're thinking about it, like, you got Lucky in the back, Journey is up the gut trying to keep things mixy in the middle, Metals is the fallback guy that, say Journey goes down, then you got Metals to be able to pick up the middle of the map, and Real is your lurking SMG. It just works so well that even on paper, you're like, oh, it just makes sense. But when you see it in playing out in full effect, unless one player gets absolutely overwhelmed, you just are always in the right place at the right time to make sure that everybody has their cross covered. It's just immaculate stuff. Absolutely sublime Search out of Young Galactic.
Yeah, and we talked about it going into the Search and Destroy. There was a lot riding on that map. As we get into the map set here is why. We move over towards Control, Tuscan. I guess the best way we could describe this is that Young Galactics are very good on this map mode combination. And you kind of already explained why at the very beginning of this whole series, why Control on Tuscan is still being played. Of course, Young Galactics being the highest seed means that they get to choose effectively the Control map that is played in map number 3. But every single time we've seen this roster play, they have either 3-0'd or 3-1'd it. I mean, that's incredible, because you have to take offenses to do that. Generally speaking, if it was like, oh, they're really good at winning round number 5s, then, all right, they're really good at forcing defenses. Quite clearly they're better at playing lives, what have you, right? But that's not the case. They are very good at Tuscan Control. Just what we've seen from them so far, it's just been immaculate. And again, for me at least, it comes down to just the amount of pressure they push as a team. The teamwork, being able to really go in all at the same time, kind of breach and clear, if you will. It works so well for them, especially on a map such as Tuscan Control.
Their bait and switch is definitely a core fundamental when you're thinking about this Young Galactics roster of what they can almost lean on continuously. Again, respawn mixed with a little bit of objective is Control if you're new to Call of Duty as a whole. That what this team of Young Galactics have been able to showcase for us, it almost all the way goes back to the beginning of the Reverse Sweep for Revenge Short for me personally. It got exemplified to such a high degree, Brody, and what they were able to do for us was always just making sure that one role was always being picked up. Real, again, is that lurking SMG player. If they get themselves defensively inside of maps, get themselves inside of rooftops, go 1-for-1, that's fine. Metals will be right there to be able to pick things up, or Journey on the opposite side, or Vines. While you have Lucky or Metals or the both of them, locking down the flank and making sure that nobody can get over towards that B zone for free. A zone will always be a tussle. More often than not, you'll see the offensive team take that A zone one way or another against like the game clock or the lives, finally buying themselves some space, adding extra 60 seconds on the board. But when it comes down to the originals for Elite Season 1, they have only played Tusken Control in their 4 maps played. They're 1-3 overall on it, and they're coming off of an 0-3 loss against Revenge Tour. Looking to correct that. If they want to be able to win this series, it has to start with a reverse sweep here.
This is going to be tough. Your back's up against the wall. If you're the originals, you really want to win this. We'll see if they can get it done here as we're on board with Rail to kick things off. See how much damage he can do over towards B. That pressure already starting to mount here as Young Galactics, they're looking to capture A early on. Look, and if there's one thing we can say about Tusken Control is while you don't let one team come out swinging the way that Young Galactics are at the moment, losing A out the gate is not, it's neither here nor there.
You only found 2 kills, right? In that opening scrimmage, you only found 1 for the originals, and that was Grad that was able to take down that 1 player. But yeah, you have to concede that if you are the originals going forward, because you want to be feeding so many streaks going forward. You dealt with Journey in towards the backside of Church. Very egregious play for Young Galactics to try to play for that backside while they didn't even finish getting the A zone. But hey, if you can keep laying on the pressure, by all means, continuously do that. 60 seconds will be added onto the board. Niles, now that player in the middle of the map, might be able to play upset, knowing that they have maps in their favor, but Journey's got to spot them out. 3 quick kills do come through for Young Galactics, and the floor is theirs to try to push in towards B.
Young Galactics, once again, getting that wave of kills. How much more damage can they do here as they make their way over towards B? They've got all the time in the world to make this push happen. Journey, able to pick up 1. Originals going to be pushed back here, of course. Furious and Grad, what can they do? Grad, the last player left up top, and he will actually take down 1. Journey going to have to put in a bit of a shift to make this push work, but playing his life superbly will finally end up falling. And not before damage is done, though. Real now the next player to cause some more damage, but a 19 versus 12 in lives. Young Galactics, they've just had a hell of a start to this round.
And you have 1:20 left to be able to play a glorified TDM if you are Young Galactics. Keep beating out the position for the originals, so you have to play so far back in your spawn that you have to force Young Galactics to whittle their way through these very narrow choke points. Furious is in a position that they find anything, no one won't. But they hear that Lucky will be taking down Rafi. That is inside of radio. They have to at least go 1-for-1. Finding 2 here would be big. There's the first, can't find the second. Pinstripe kill feed might still be good. You just have to keep leveling down the clock. That's your immediate win condition if you are the original.
Yeah, there's what, only 3 more pushes left in Young Galactics,
More or less,
if
yeah.
that at all. So originals, they only need to survive that, but with 9 lives, this is going to be tough. 1 player going to come in the back, Royale. Ready for it, though, will sniff him out before he can do any real damage. So now this becomes a one-dimensional attack for Young Galactics. All 3 players from the front, but as we've said, they're pretty good. Going in all at the same time. Journey able to trade things out. 30 seconds on the clock now, though. This might well come down to time, Andy.
1 more set of respawns remaining for the originals, but Young Galactics just relentless trying to get themselves on the B zone. What the originals are doing so well, they're not allowing Young Galactics to get in back by that truck, back by that tank. Just forcing the originals to play out the spawn game. That's a push coming out from Young Galactic.
Here we go. And Young Galactics get onto the point. They've got a couple of players coming out of Church, but the originals being really sneaky at the moment with their positioning. They're camping all kinds of corners, and Young Galactics being caught out pretty much every single time. Real and Lucky, what can they do? Absolutely nothing, and the originals will survive the onslaught that Young Galactics bring to the table. And for how that round started out, the originals are going to definitely be breathing many a sigh of relief.
Yeah,
at the end of that one.
You absolutely should, and it plays out exactly what I was calling for the originals, is that they have to play so far back in their spawn that Young Galactics obviously have to make the push happen. They have to be able to flood inside of the B zone, but the originals just never allowed a Young Galactics member to be able to get themselves in back by that truck, bottom right of the map, that little rectangle that Real's going to be running towards. That one position right there, you can get there offensively and then get another player over by the tank. We saw the London Royal Ravens do this wonderfully in their most recent matchup in CDL. You got to respect this from the originals. Defense is definitely the favorite side to start things off. As they win that round, they're going to try to work their way over by the B zone, but Real almost gave themselves a good look at finding 3 that'll effectively stop the push off the rip for the originals to try to get this B zone first.
Hey, well, look, if you know you're out of your depth, sometimes the Hail Mary plays are the only ways to go, right? And that is one hell of a Hail Mary play coming right out the gate. The originals wanted to grab control of B. They have been denied. Now Young Galactics with 50 seconds left, looking to defend this A zone. Nice flank from Furious will take down Royale. So the originals now have a good look in to try and capture this A zone. Young Galactics might not have a say in the matter, especially as these kills continue to come through. Furious going to put together a spree. Isle with another one in the kill feed as well. The Originals doing a stellar job of capturing A, and Young Galactics, I think, now just might push back. Furious, though, has actually broken the defensive line, continues on this spree, will be taken down finally.
That was so necessary for the Originals to be able to have that X-Factor player. Furious is the standout so far, 11-8 for them. The next player that could be up was going to be Grad, who's forced to play this little ratty corner on the bottom side of church, trying to find some timing, but doesn't read the first. That's going to be Journey over in the back awning to take them down. So effectively resetting the map. Got to respect that little, almost a discretion coming out from Young Galactics. They don't have the opportunity to be able to play for the spawns quite yet. They know there has to be one more gunfight coming through. But they're respecting their adversaries here for the Originals, as Metals will find a crucial trade inside of maps. Again, something to push for the time being, but Furious actually slipped the net, trying to get in towards the back. Real, on the best head glitch in the game, will be taken out. Now you got to deal with Furious in the back if you are Young Galactic.
Furious still there, hasn't quite been uprooted just yet. The Originals definitely with a chance at the back of that. I think but finally someone's going to deal with them, as Metals is spawned up in a bit of an odd particular position. Lucky also there. Young Galactics deal with the threats on both fronts as they take players down over towards maps. They take that player down in the back line. Now Young Galactics, a moment to breathe here. There's 45 seconds left on the clock. That's one more push left in this for the Originals before they're sent back to their respawn point. It does take a hell of a lot of time to actually traverse the map in Tuscan, despite how small it can be. So, for the Originals, this has to be it. Raffi able to pick up one. Now Lucky in the back line. He will end up falling. The Originals starting to put this push together, Andy. And with those players in the back line, Young Galactics will spawn in some wacky positions. Journey looking for the skill versus Grad. Will find it. Now it's just Raffi left up with 15 seconds left on the clock. He needs to be the playmaker here. Of course, Journey going to try and hunt him down. Raffi actually survives. He is keeping this player alive single-handedly. He is keeping this player alive single-handedly, but he needs to touch the point.
Needs to get on the zone. Reinforcements are coming through the patio side. It's just one player. That's going to be communicating. Brad takes out Metals. That's going to keep this play going so far, but 1 second. One good gunfighter. All Young Galactics need to close out this defense, and Journey will fly from the heavens. We'll take them down. Again, you know, that was one of their best looks to be able to look at it. It's got to be frustrating if you are Furious, right? I mean, you found yourself almost the same exact opening that Raffi did have in the back spawn of Young Galactics. But because the push effectively never came through inside of maps, because Journey and Real were just shutting it down every single time the attempt was coming through from the Originals, they could never actually get themselves on the B zone. Even when Furious was finding themselves 3 to 4 kills in the backside of Church and shutting down the spawns to rotate back over to reinforce the B zone. The Originals really needed to be able to coordinate that pinch, really needed an effective gunfight to be in their favor inside of maps to be able to make that push come all the way through, as Young Galactics will come in towards another offense. Got themselves the life lead if it does come down to a round number 5. They're going to be met with a certain amount of pushback here on the A zone early. Just Grad left alive will be dealt with. First stick of progress already coming through, but Furious trying to make the play happen from the back.
I think comparatively to round number 1, this has been a lot better of a showing from the Originals, right? Because you've got to think that round number 1, the Young Galactics, they came out. They managed to cap the point basically straight away with a multitude of unanswered gunfights in their favor. Now the Originals having a much better go of things, though. For how long? That's the question. Metals comes in from behind, takes down 2 players, looking to do some more damage. He will be shut down, but those 2 kills, basically, Andy, guarantee that this point should be captured, unless Raffi is able to put a stop to it. I was going to say should be, but Young Galactics actually pushed back here at the final second.
Furious has hit a different level in this control so far, 19 and 13 for them, and made the flank play happen early. It was a real good look. They didn't try to overcommit through the flank at the early goings of things. Now that third tick of progress actually gets completely soaked all the way down. The Originals resurfacing themselves here inside of you, trying to make the hurt bring to Young Galactics, and they are certainly making it, or making Young Galactics work for this A zone. Again, you still have to deal with Nile, who's inside of this alleyway. He's actually going to find some timing to get in the backside of Vines. At least one player is trying to look at it. Riel knows that there could be the flank play to come all the way through. Nile does find one in the back. Metals will take them down. The A zone will be finally tacked over for Young Galactics. 60 seconds on the board, but only a 2-life lead, now 3 for the defense for the Originals. They can absolutely do this if they can continue to play the trade game, continue to find some kills, not allow Young Galactics to get in their spawn.
Real trying to put some shots in through maps. Won't find anything off the back of it with Metals. Okay, that's a shaky gunfight as he will end up losing it. The Originals doing a stellar job at the moment of keeping Young Galactics at bay. They're trying to filter players through in the back line. Journey immediately shut down. And everything Young Galactics are trying at the moment is just it's just shut down straight away every single time. I think that's why Young Galactics are now taking their time. They're waiting for the players to come spawn so they can push this in a synchronized attack. Brad, he's going to be sitting on that corner. We'll be ready for this play. Now the first player to push forward. Should be checking that corner, of course. Player already taken down. Now here we go for Young Galactics. We're off to the races for this particular play. Royale, how much damage can he do? Journey's been sent towards the back line to try and deal with the players off spawn, but it is now just Royale and Journey here in this play. Royale is shut down. Journey, the last player left alive. And if you're Journey here in this position, you have to try and play your life. You can't do it. Now no respawns remaining. Young Galactics, you gotta be perfect from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, I actually respect that call from Journey to be able to get wiped, knowing that this is going to be their last push coming all the way through, to be able to hit this one more time as a team. Metal's trying to go for a heads-up play. We'll go 1 for 1, but now you're just down to the last 3 players, 25 seconds remaining. This is effectively looking like a very convincing defensive win for the Originals, with a hefty kill margin as well. This is their biggest concern going forward into round number 5. It is overall kills. It's tied up going in towards that 5th and final round. Take a look at the assists. Well, we won't, because the game is tacking it over for us. Luckily enough, I don't have to do that math on stream for you all, but even so, Real trying to find themselves maybe one more kill. If they can take down Furious, that will negate themselves a glide bomb, but going to touch the zone, just kind of tiptoe around, maybe bait themselves out of kill, won't be able to find it. Yeah, the Originals on that A zone defensively, I mean, that's the best that I think that we've seen them as far as a Tuscan control is concerned here in the Season 1 Elite Brody. They put themselves in a fine spot to be able to read the tendencies, almost adapt from that first round fumble that came through, not setting too many players in the middle of the map to get put in the blunder inside of that Vines alleyway, and just wait for the space, wait for Rafi to be able to find themselves a couple of kills over by the A zone, and then open up the floodgates for Nile and Furious to cut all the way through. Furious still on 4 in a row from that previous round. Almost surprised it's going to be the Originals on an A zone hit.
On the Originals, haven't really faced much pressure right out the gate, right? I mean, Young Galactics at the moment got players up top in church, but that's about it. Finally, Journey will be able to pick up one. Looking for a second, though, immediately shut down as Grad turns around here. Young Galactics, they do not want to give this point up straight out the gate. They want to try and hold off for as long as humanly possible. Do not give the Originals all the time in the world to go capture B right after this. Being said, the Originals have been a problem so far in this game. Furious going to continue that. Has that glide bomb in the back pocket ready to go. Will be shut down by a nice bunny hop and a jump from Lucky. As Young Galactics refusing to give at this point at the moment. How long can they hold on?
Really what it mostly comes down to, how long can they hold on? They got themselves that first tick of progress. We're on A. Started showing a little bit of resilience over towards B, but play immediately for Young Galactics off the rip. We're trying to play for Gal and Journey to be able to find value on the flank. It ends up blowing up in their face, so Young Galactics just resurface themselves. They win the upfront gunfights, and now Journey has some timing in the back, almost able to take down Furious for a double, but will still be the space seeded for now. The Originals know the Young Galactics have some reinforcements in their back pocket, and they really want to close out this offense. It's actually going to force Furious to call out the glide bomb, but while that was happening, the rest of their comrades all fall down around them. Nile trying to finesse their life, does end up finding 2 towards the middle of the map. That could open up the Originals to finally get on this A zone. Just 15 seconds remaining.
15 seconds. They're really being forced in this round to put everything into this A zone. Journeying in from behind, though. Wants to play spoiler. Will be able to pick up one. Now going to have to be the rest of this Young Galactics roster to deal with this pressure. It was just Metals left alive there. Furious should be able to put the extra 60 seconds onto this clock, but Young Galactics have done a stellar job of wasting all of this time. And now look at this preparation as well. Rail, in this advanced rooftop positioning we see so often.
Be so annoying when you're trying to work your way back over towards maps, right? 2 players are trying to do that. It's going to be Furious and Nile. Do they know that Real's still back over here? Yes, they absolutely do. 3 quick kills do come through. With that 60 seconds stacked on the board, we are knotted up 10 apiece. They deal with Journey inside of Radio. Quick kill feed, all bleeding in red. The Originals are able to get onto the B zone.
This is so good from the Originals. Now they need to survive. Metals takes down Nile. There's still 2 players over towards the point. One player over towards Church. He will come over. Surely not, you say. This is a realistic possibility, especially as Grab will play his life. He will end up falling, but look at Rafi. In from behind he goes. Does he get sniffed out? Yes, he does. That's unfortunate for the play, but 45 seconds left. 1 tick of progression has been made, and the Originals do actually have one more player in from behind. It's going to be Nile, who does deal with Real. Now from the Originals here, what? 1 good hit left in them. That is all they have. And even losing players like Furious, that is a problem.
will be a problem. They have to wait for them to spawn back up and almost effectively try to make a pinch. They're actually going to make the play to happen and come back through from maps. They're going to try to work their way back inside of maps and try to flood back inside of B. That's a great opening nade to take down Metals. Now 5v5, no respawns remaining for the defense.
Lucky takes down Niall. Now Rafi going to be a nice nade onto Real. Metals needs to cook this one up perfectly. You need to have this one land onto a player. It won't. Metals will end up falling. Now 2 versus 3 onto the point. These players surely just going to stack this. 2 versus 2. 10 seconds left here. But Journey in from behind to take down 2. Now Niall makes this a 1v1 with that kill versus Lucky. 1 second left. Niall needs to get on the point. Looking for this kill. Desperately diving back and forth. Journey's had some shots put into him. He needs to play this quickly because if not, Niall is actually just going to capture the point. Journey, you gotta go, buddy. And Niall with the pressure will win the 1 versus 1. The Originals able to do the improbable, the impossible. Young Galactics lose a Tuscan control.
What? That's insane. What an offensive push coming through from the Originals. Again, Furious just hit top form throughout the entirety of this Tuscan control. You cannot understate that. Furious was going massive round after round for the Originals. It just had to come down to that one last round that was necessary. That shriek that got called in made me really nervous. I was really thinking that you wanted to hold on to that glide bomb to make the hit come through from B because we knew it was inevitable that A zone was going to be tacked on over. But how many lives were going to be given up to be able to find that? It was all knotted up. 10 apiece. 10 lives for each of the teams going in towards that B zone hit. And the Originals pull a page out of Young Galactic's playbook, and they just completely play off of that one player inside of Church. It is hindering off the one player inside of Church to be able to make that hit come through. It is Niall to be able to slip the net, coming away from that ruined side of the map, getting up top inside of Church to stop that one player from being in the clutch position up top patio, from shutting down the 3 players flooding inside of maps. They go and they find the trades, and again, in that final moment, it had to be the final play that was going to be called for. The Originals being able to put themselves in a position for those last 2 ticks of progression. Just needed to play for the first, forcing out the play with a whole second left. They do the impossible, like you said, Brody. They take the Tuscan, and they're keeping themselves alive in this series.
Wow, well, let's take a look at the stats then at the end of that game. And, I mean, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly if you paid attention there, Furious 33 and 24, the highest performer on the Originals roster. Just incredible play coming through from him. I think actually maybe the bottom line to this actually is that Young Galactics, I think overall, I want to say they probably did outslay the Originals. It was just the Originals doing a lot better in terms of their efficiency with the kills overall. And they were constantly neck and neck as well. Looking at that final round, Young Galactics, they were really close to actually forcing the round number 5. They were only 15 seconds away before losing that A point, and another 60 seconds went on the clock, Andy. So just an incredible Tuscan control. The Originals surprising us here, showing us that we don't know squat, as they will take away Young Galactic's first Tuscan control loss. Let's take a look over towards map number 4 in the series. Hardpoint on Bacage. Look, I want to kind of say here that this technically should be Young Galactic's map, just given what we know about the team, just given how the good SMG, the 3 SMGs are on this team in this particular map. But I don't know anything. I don't know. I don't know anymore, Andy. I don't want to say anything.
You're right to say that, because, I mean, you and I both framed that up when we were casting Young Galactics versus Moneyform on Bocage Hardpoint. Their very first map that we had in Challengers Elite Season 1 for Europe was Moneyform versus Young Galactics on this map mode combo. We were like, yeah, you know, you've got essentially 3 ARs on Moneyform. There's nothing you're going to be able to essentially do versus this Young Galactics roster who have 3 amazing or 3 SMGs that have been real star-studded for many different years. But here's the thing, is that map did not go in Young Galactic's favor. Moneyform wiped the floor with them, essentially, in the second set, and they lost 173 to 250. And I'll also raise the point as well, Metals is not having a good day so far. They had a not-so-great opening first map, a not-so-amazing search and destroy, and that Tuscan control was quite telling that Metals is definitely not playing at the top form that we have been able to see them play in many different years. Call of Duty is such a day-to-day esport when it comes down to every esport truly is, but in Call of Duty, it gets almost heightened to a certain degree, that when you don't have an SMG, a flex like Metals that is not being able to live up, at least going 1-for-1 in certain situations, you can really feel it. And now, if you're the Originals, who again have not played this map mode combo in this season of the Elite for Europe, it's going to be interesting because you can ride the momentum that just was that ending of that Tuscan control. Furious is in top form. Nile a little bit slow to start at the beginning of it, but what we've been seeing from themselves is that they're able to play very fast together. You need all of that plus some more when it comes down to the Bokash hardpoint. To be able to outslay your opponent, that's one thing. To be able to rotate and to be able to get yourself in for the initial 10, 15, maybe sometimes 20 seconds is another. And to be able to battle for scrap, we did see from the originals, they were able to do on that Berlin. It's just going to be heightened by about, I don't know, 3, maybe 5-fold because we're going over towards Bokash.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to remind everybody at home as well, in terms of the stakes for the series, this is week number 2 of stage number 1 of Challengers Elite for Europe. A lot of numbers there in that, but all you need to know effectively is that, these two teams fighting for the final 4 spots in the playoff bracket. Of course, 4 of our field, that's half of it, will be removed from the tournament at the end of the round robin stage. The originals are currently in danger of being relegated, if you will, of course, because that's the other thing that I kind of think isn't really talked about here is, as is the case of last season, if you do go out in the bottom 4, you do end up going out of Elite and having to requalify for stage 2 qualifiers. So I don't think the originals will want to do that, especially considering I think overall their form so far comparatively to preseason hasn't been, I think, as hot as maybe they would have liked. I think in stage number 1 so far, I think they could do better. They know that. And they are now as well, because they've just come out and win the goddamn control versus Young Galactics. Of course, Young Galactics on the other side of that conversation, comparatively to the originals who are 2-2, Young Galactics 3-1. They win this, they basically guarantee themselves making it through to the playoff bracket, because 4-3 is like the worst you would be in that situation. It's positive record. You're highly likely to make it through. And that being said, I think we just had a score update for you guys at home as well. I think TMT did just 3-0 Flux Esports. Not all that much of a surprise there. Don't mean that in any mean way towards Flux. Just, TMT are a pretty good roster. And that was a win they did need. You couldn't lose that match to Flux, because if not, your hopes and dreams of making it to playoffs would be crushed.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back to a previous point that you were talking about for the originals, again, coming into the series, 2-2 overall, I mean, what a statement it would be to be able to beat Young Galactics, again, the number 1 seed, the team that did end up beating you in Cup number 5 this past weekend as well. Be able to come back and be able to win out the series. You effectively have to win out if you are the originals going forward. Young Galactics can shave off this loss, and they can still probably guarantee themselves to be able to qualify, given how the rest of their schedule is unfolding throughout the rest of the evening. And then tomorrow, for the originals to be able to win this out here, they still have to play Money Form. That is going to be happening on the mainstream later on. And then I believe that they still have to face TMT. That'll be their matchup tomorrow as well. Take a look at another series that is currently battling it out in a map number 4. It is Money Form versus United Nations. The Tuscan Hardpoint went in the favor of Money Form, 250-198. And the United Nations were able to take the Tuscan Search and Destroy 6-3, coming off of a Gava 2 control win by Money Form. They'll find themselves a leg up in the series, Brody.
Indeed they will. Get right into this hard point then. Right at the gate, surprise, surprise, Harry going to start off hot on a 5 spree. We'll be getting that glide bomb for himself. Streaks early on from Money Form's going to really be pretty good, I think, for this team. The United Nations roster don't want to let that happen. Unfortunately, they already have. But they do have the rotation in hand. The question is, how long can they hold on to it for? Harry going to try and continue the spree by looking for kill number 6. He will almost get it versus Abuser, who lets that gunfight going for a little bit too long, but the first wave of kills do come through, and it's United Nations who do end up winning them. Money Form, though, not giving up.
Don't want to be giving up any part of this rotation. You have to essentially win 2 different battles. One up top, which goes in the way. Abuse is now up here. Wee Man deals with them in kind from down low. And Wee Man's going to be able to put themselves in a position to potentially stay up top. Whalers, nice shots. Taking down Wee Man from that top boat, but you still have to deal with Beans inside the hard point. 20 seconds is good time when it comes down to Gava 2, especially from UN's side. They got to be able to put themselves in a position to be able to hit through P2 for the scrap time and try to battle for those P3 spawns.
Money Form looking pretty good here in this hard point with 10 seconds left. They should be able to soak up this scrap time. Of course, they do have control of the spawns for the next hard point as well. That is crucial in for this game. And the first wave of kills do actually come through from Money Form. So they're looking pretty good in this hard point, but we're going to focus our attention over towards our main focus matchup. We're going to Bacage hard point between Young Galactics and the Originals. Young Galactics, we talk about the SMG pressure. They need to bring it their A game to this one.
Young Galactic starting off on the favorite side of the map. They are mostly playing for those crosses towards the middle while making sure that they can guarantee those tin spawns as well. The moment that metal spawns on up, Dirty hits it through the patio side in front of Grandma's, finds themselves 3 in a row. That'll get themselves on the hardpoint time for the moment, but 10 seconds inside of P1. The Originals have to hit through the middle of the map to try to get in through the back, and the flank is also being shut down.
Pred's going back and forth at the moment. Young Galactics, regardless of the matter, will be in control of the hill for the majority. Real switching over towards the rat there for that second kill. Will not find it, but I think more importantly here, as you say, Andy, we look at the rotation. It is going to be Young Galactics in control. This is the most alike hardpoint we have here on this map to a money hill. And as I say that, the Originals looking to break it early on. They will get a full wipe of 4 players. Young Galactics, they might spawn close, but they will not get the majority time at the back of the hill now.
Gonna be tough to be able to work your way back in our Young Galactic journey, though. Trying to make a big argument for it. We'll find Rafi up the front. It's gonna be a front hit at the end of it for Young Galactics. They're gonna be able to put themselves in a position to be able to play off the back end of Journey's pressure. Clean kill feed coming through from Young Galactics. The Originals still spawning in from the back, and that is great if you are the Young Galactics. With this 30-point lead growing up, they are holding middle of the map hostage from the Originals, not allowing them to be able to get through for the back head spawns.
And they've done a stellar job there of actually holding on to the majority of time, regardless of the fact that they were actually pushed out early on. And now, again, even better for the third hard point in a row. Young Galactics here going to be the first team into the hill, looking to really dominate the Originals in this game. The Originals need to start getting going here in this one because they're only, what, 14 points to their name at the moment. They need to start getting some points on the board. Here they go to try and break on through. It's going to be Furious to try and find his way in from the back line. He will be able to pick up 1. And now the Originals are going to be in. Young Galactics, unfortunately for them, then, will not be spawning towards that back line. It's the mid-map for them.
Hit through the windows, and Journey is just at home. We have been seeing Journey do some naughty things on this map across all modes that have been played. Hardpoint, Search and Destroy. Journey just knows their timings. It's something that we almost expect for them to come all the way through. The recent birthday boy just about 2 days ago, if not even yesterday. I don't know, my days are blending together. The Originals are trying to hit this one more time. Scrap time would be good time to make sure that Young Galactics don't soak it up, considering that it's a whole hardpoint lead. The Galactics hold over the Originals' head, going in towards 4. Not exactly a comfort, if you ask me.
Could be better, I think, the Originals at the moment, but they do have this rotation in hand. And of course, we know how scrappy this hardpoint can be, right, Andy? So this is going to be tough, I think, for the Originals roster. Lucky able to kick things off for this hill by picking up 2 kills, and immediately is Young Galactics in for this time. Furious trying to hold on to it, will be denied. As back and forth as this can be, Young Galactics, all they really need to do is just stop the Originals from getting a lot of time off the back of this hill. Grad, though, up top. And a problem for many teams so far in Elite Stage 1 in that preseason on this roster. How much damage can he do? Trying to play his life. Will get shut down. Young Galactics, they are actually giving quite a lot of time away to the Originals here, Andy.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's time that you can give up. Give it again. It was, what, like a 70-point lead going into 4? So, again, very unheard of when it comes down to a Bokash hardpoint that you see such a discrepancy like that in the first set of hardpoints, especially when 2 teams are very close. What we saw from that Berlin hardpoint, but going in towards 5, this is where teams can really start making the game run away from the other, as Young Galactics will find 3 rotational kills, but nobody was blocking the spawns. The Originals are in. Lucky is not going to be fully aware with this. Well, they sure will now, but they're just getting the hell out of Dodge. Nile will cut them down inside of the tunnel. Still the Originals holding on to these back hedge spawns, so they'll be able to resurface this, but they got to deal with the flank as Metals and Journey are trying to keep the play alive. Now Lucky's going to call in the glide bomb, see if they can keep these players at bay. It won't find any damage at all, so the Originals are able to hold the line. Young Galactics, they're tasked with making sure the Originals are not able to get on the hardpoint for free, which they're doing quite wonderfully.
Still 20 seconds of time. The Young Galactics will want to soak up here if they can. The Originals continue to spawn in that back line. How much damage can they do here to Young Galactics? Enough, actually, as Real and Metals will end up falling. This is 10 seconds of time that the Originals should be able to kind of hoover up here. At the end of the first set of rotations here, Andy. things are pretty close, actually. I think the Originals now within 39 points of Young Galactics. They want to have a good go of things here on P1. This is going to, generally speaking, be scrappy. Journey now on a 4 spree, looking for a number 5. Will run right in a furious off spawn, and, well, that's going to be frustrating, isn't it? You spawn up, you immediately come head-to-head with Journey, and he just wipes you out.
Oh, Journey had a good look at potentially getting themselves that strafing run, but the way that you make P1 a money hill is that you just have to constantly just be slaying out, which I know, John Madden comment of the day for me, but it's really what it comes down to. And from top to bottom, you can see what Young Galactics are doing so much better than the Originals, especially on Bocage. The team that slays more typically will end up running away with the hardpoint score more often than not, unless you're Minnesota Rocket versus New York Subliners at the Kickoff Classic. But even still, for the Young Galactics, holding middle of the map, they're not trying to flood in for the spawns. They know that 15 seconds is still ample time to try to play for that, as Riel will find 2 inside of the barn. They'll be cut down. The Originals resurface themselves in the middle of the map, still holding on to those close spawns for P2, and that could be a money hill if the Originals hold the line.
Miles, trying to play his life here. Now Journey going to bring his streak on through. I think for Young Galactics, this is an important moment here to try and really put the hammer down on this game. Will he find anything with it? No, as that player will run into the heart. And Young Galactics here, not getting anything off the back of that streak. The Originals weathering this storm relatively well. They're dealing with all the gunfights as well in kind. So Young Galactics here, giving up quite a lot of time to the Originals. They kind of need to find their way into the hard point pretty quickly. As Nile comes in behind, that's going to disrupt the party as well.
Only 30 seconds, uncontested. The Originals really tacking on towards the scoreline, but the way that Young Galactics broke it the first set was from Journey just hitting it up through the front of the hard point. This time it was Real's turn to try to do so. Lucky has themselves one of the greatest angles here on Bocage to be able to overlook it all. Can't find much besides just a couple of spray damage. Trying to contest the hard point for the time being, won't be allowed to do so. But still, Young Galactics, much like I said on 5 during the first set, Brody, if they can keep the time contesting the Originals off the hard point, that's a job well done. You can continue to hold the lead, play against the game clock as well, as we're down to about 2 minutes, heading in towards 3. Young Galactics do have those closer spawns, so they will be here for the initial time. Comes down to the Originals, so they have to break early.
They do. They're going to go for this straight away. Rafi wants to try and zone these players off the back of spawn. Unfortunately, didn't quite have an idea that Real has managed to make his way through before he got there. However, it doesn't matter too much. The Originals would be in for the time. Fury is going to end up falling, but it doesn't matter. The flip has come through. Young Galactics now spawning up towards our left side of our minimap. Metals, though, in from behind. Going to play spoiler. Won't even be able to get the first kill, actually. The Original's doing a stellar job here of keeping Young Galactics at bay. A 5-kill spree comes in through for Nile. That's a glide bomb that has been earned. And all while this is happening, the Originals have got the majority of time at the back of this hill. They are trying to fight their way back into this game. Young Galactics haven't actually done that great of a job of stopping them.
No, they haven't, but again, able to marginalize the lead are the Originals. 5 seconds of battle over here on 3, and the Originals actually have the close spawns, which might not actually be a benefit for them, considering they have to get over towards 4. Again, not exactly a long rotation, just a hop, skip, and a jump from 3 to 4. Young Galactics will hold the rotation for the time being, and they're continuously doing this so well. They're reading the spawns, they're reading where the Original members are putting themselves in at. I was going to have to call in the streak to see if they can try to open up the floodgates for the Originals to work their way forward, and as Furious finds themselves 3 in a row, that should be the go for the Originals to try to get themselves inside of the barn.
Nice still kill coming through from Lucky. That's going to guarantee those spawns for Young Galactics here, at least towards that riverbed side of the map, as those split spawns do coming on through. Young Galactics now want to try and maybe prevent the Originals from getting a lot of time off the back of this hardpoint grad. Can he grab this hill from the Originals once more? Stun goes out, but he gets taken down from behind. Young Galactics now in for the time once again. Furious trying to put a stop to it. He will be denied, and the Originals just cannot get a player in there, no matter how hard they try. Young Galactics just seeming too strong, and this is 5 seconds of time that even Nile is going to try and fight. If anything, the disruption would be nice looking for 3. Will at the very least help Rafi pick up that final gunfight, but now this rotation comes on through. It's going to be Lucky, Metals spawning in the backline. Grad is over towards that willow tree, but he swiftly gets shut down by some nice shots from Lucky. Young Galactics, they are not slipping up.
No, they're not slipping up. The Originals last time around, they were able to get themselves in towards that back willow tree spawn, but no entry so far. Young Galactics not allowing them to get in, but Journey from the staircase will find themselves Furious inside of the hardpoint itself. Close spawns into effect for Young Galactics. They're not going to be able to close it out here. They're going to put themselves within striking distance. 80 points of the deficit, growing up to 90 or so now for the Originals. They can't break here. This game is just going to spiral out of control. But it already has, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is starting to become that insurmountable lead, right? It's so tough. Generally speaking, we always talk about the fact that on Bocage, 30 points is a big lead. Well, Young Galactics, they've got themselves a whole 100-point differential between the two teams, and it continues to rise here as Young Galactics look to soak up this scrap time. They just need 22 points as this next rotation does come through. The Originals are technically speaking there first. What a comeback this would be if it happened. Hey, Andy.
I mean, it would certainly be something. A minute left in the game clock. Young Galactics, again, just need to continuously slay out. You can play against the game clock, or you can keep slaying out, and you can close it out on this hardpoint, which they're starting to do. Be able to streak together here, Hills on Bokosh hardpoint, very unheard of, but the Originals, they did the impossible on Tuscan Control. Gonna be asked and required one more time.
One more time, 13 points, all that Young Galactics need. Can they find it? They're not going to be in a rush to do it. Lucky will take down Raffi off the back of the hardpoint. Now Journey in from behind to the very least make sure that no Original players do actually end up picking any time. I think if anything here, Journey might just kind of retreat away towards that next hardpoint to try and ensure that they do actually get the rotation. That has not happened. Journey being over here, I mean, he can make all the difference, and he will as he waits for the rest of his team to come up from behind from that riverbed area. Nonetheless, this will have to be a kind of very quick break and clear. That is exactly what happens. Metals, Journey, and Royale all going to contribute. It's just Raffi left up to try and play hero. He will quickly get taken down here, Randy. And Young Galactics now in for this time. They just need 10 seconds. The kills coming on through. The Spaniards looking strong as ever in hardpoint to try and close out this series. Raffi will put a nade onto the hardpoint, but it does just delay the inevitable as Young Galactics hit that 250-point mark. They get the series win. 3-1. They didn't really want to end it here. They wanted to end it in the control. They had no choice in the matter, but nonetheless, job's a good one. 4-1 now in overall standings for Young Galactics. And as I said, you know, that will give them, at worst, an ending standing as a 4-3, basically guaranteeing them a spot in playoffs.
I mean, given how the rest of their matchups are looking throughout tonight and tomorrow for Young Galactics, it's starting to look like that they are going to put themselves as far as the #1 overall seed. Again, this is all speculation for how things are going to be looking for them. But yeah, Young Galactics, again, we talked about it coming away from that Tuscan hardpoint, our map #1, is that this is undeniably one of the best hardpoint teams that we have right now in Europe. They are able to just completely make Bokosh just feel so methodical. The way that they were, even right there at the end, you saw it from Journey's perspective. You called it so wonderfully, Brody. They were waiting for the hit to come through from Barn and make sure that they had Lucky or Metals in a position on the backside of the tanks from the hedge side, be able to make sure that that hit was more effective and that they had all the players looking at the front of the hill, making sure that nobody was aware that Journey was going to be able to put themselves into the back. This methodical hardpoint that we're constantly seeing out from these Young Galactics roster is going to just be a bread and butter for them. I mean, to be able to constantly win map 1s, to be able to guarantee map 4s, to be able to force out map number 5s, this is going to be a championship caliber team for many, many months to come until somebody is able to meet the pace and as somebody or another team is going to be able to meet the chemistry that these 4 Spaniards have across all 3 game modes right now. It has not really been answered for us, Brody. I mean, yeah, they lost that first series versus Moneyform here in Season 1 of the Elite, but they look great. I mean, they're constantly getting better. Keep in mind, they are winning cup after cup here in Europe as well, progressively making sure that they don't slip up, making sure they don't get complacent, making sure that they can constantly put themselves one up over the other. As we take a look at this best of 5 series again, Brody, the Young Galactics roster, undeniably the best team that we have right now in Europe.
Well, I mean, look, I will say one thing about this Young Galactics roster. Yes, they look incredible. Right now, that status is the best team in Europe. I think, you know, yes, they've won, 4 out of 5 of the Challengers Cups we've had here in Europe this season. So they are definitely making an argument for it. That being said, of course, right now they are 4-1 overall in standings off the back of this 3-1 victory. But I think, you know, we have seen that gods can bleed. I think that's what I would say looking forward here to them. Now they've got 2 more matches left today, or one today and then one tomorrow. They did lose to Moneyform in that game, 5 round 11, and they even lost a control on Tuscan, right? So, hey, look, they're not invincible. I think for the playoff teams, that is going to be maybe the headline moving into that playoffs. But right now, at 4-1 again, it's looking ever increasingly likely that this team has made it into playoffs. For the Originals, on the other hand, it's now looking less likely. They're currently 2-3, Andy. They move up against Moneyform next. I think their own match is TMT, if I'm right, as well, which is, I think, Moneyform especially, by the way, here are also, I think, now 4-1. I believe they probably did it winning that Garby 2 hardpoint.
Yeah, they did.
Versus United Nations. It's a tough road. It's a tough road for the Originals. It's a tough ask, I think, for this team now because they need to pull out basically the impossible because Moneyform are a very good team.
Yeah, I mean, again, the originals, they're going to have TMT tomorrow. And then on the main broadcast is where they're actually heading to face Moneyform. So, yeah, you essentially have to win out against the other the only other team that could probably argue that they are the #1 team in Europe right now in Moneyform. That team is looking better and better. We even saw that in the Cup this previous weekend. For Cup number 5, that team is certainly heading different strides. That's where my argument comes from, though, is Young Galactics are the best team because they won back-to-back best-of-5s from the lower bracket against Moneyform. But even still,
It's true.
I think that this Originals roster, look, they got what it takes, right? I think it just has to be consistency for them going forward, that if Furious can, always find themselves value in the flex player that they are, pick up the MP40, do what we saw on that Tuscan Control. It's the rest of the team that needs to rally behind them. Somebody from this Originals roster, whether it's Nile with the submachine gun, whether it's Grad on the Search and Destroy, or Raffi with the Automaton across all 3 game modes, something needs to be picked up to be able to not necessarily mirror 1-to-1, but to be able to replicate the success that Furious is finding on the map, to be able to have that hit from 2 different fronts, to be suggestive that they're able to take these hard points against top teams, and make sure that they're not closing out and losing by 20 points or so, to make sure that their Search and Destroy rounds don't get thwarted when they have a numbers advantage as well. All these things are certainly questionable for the Originals. They're a team and a roster we have seen in previous years in different Call of Duties across different teams that can get it done. It's just, again, they did the impossible by taking a Tuscan Control off of Young Galactics. Now they got to somehow be able to beat Moneyform and then TMT tomorrow to make sure that they can try to make an argument for being a top 4 team ahead of that double elimination bracket.
It's a tough road for sure, right? Especially, again, now that they are 2 and 3. They've got to basically win both of those matches to qualify. It is absolutely a huge amount to climb. I'm excited to see whether or not they can do it. Of course, Young Galactics, as we said, now 4 and 1, basically having guaranteed playoffs. They're looking forward to their final 2 matches, regardless of who they play. That being said, I think for the first wave of matches, we're basically done and dusted here. We have a second set coming very, very soon. I think the match that we're going to be coming up with on our broadcast is going to be Sukri's Bakery versus United Nations. That's going to be an interesting one for sure. Of course, Sukri's Bakery, another one of those teams currently sitting in the top 4. United Nations fighting tooth and nail to survive. Can they do it? That's going to be the question, of course. You find out the answer right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Call of Duty Challenges broadcast brought to you by Clutch, run by the community. My name is Infinity. I'm joined by Proper for all of this one. We're about to get into our second set of matches of the day, and we're kicking things off with one of our tertiary matches, Young Galactics going head-to-head with TMT. Annie, we just saw Young Galactics take their last match. They should be feeling pretty good coming into this one.
Yeah, especially hopping into Bocage Hardpoint. They just beat the Originals by a whole 100 points. 250-150 was that scoreline, winning it out 3-1. Lost Tuscan control, but even still, for TMT going forward, coming off of that win versus Flux, the job is not done yet for these guys. Need to be able to continue on with their strides, to be able to put themselves in a position to try to argue for that last position. Could be that 4th spot in the double elimination bracket.
It is very tough, isn't it? I think for TMT in this position, as you say, 2 and 3 right now. They kind of need to win their remaining matches, this being one of them. It's tough for everybody. He's still fighting for the spots in playoffs. Not for Young Galactics, though, as we say. They are 4 and 1 now, basically guarantee themselves a spot in playoffs. Right, in this one, though, TMT at the moment, not in control of this game. They are in control of the hard point. The question is for how long this journey. I'm going to come in from behind. Unfortunately, will fall foul to a team nade from Metal. So Young Galactic's going to have to fight a little bit harder to get control. But not all that hard, Andy, as Real makes his way in third.
Yeah, again, this map just plays to such strengths when it comes to Young Galactics. They're so surgical on this map. Brody just being able to play off the strengths, keep Lucky in the back. Metals will pick up where Journey will fall. And then you can rely on Real to be able to play that flex role that they know and love, soaking up a last little bit of hard point time before we work our way in towards the back, which Metals is on the best head glitch that we have here on Bocage, just cutting down any member that's trying to thwart this push, as Real is trying to hit it from the main street, will be shut down by BB Connor. So still time going up towards the game clock, but this is not time that TMT want Young Galactics to get for free.
No, it is not. TMT going to fight for it, though, right now. Of course, Metals and Real looking for the gunfights from the front of the hill. Connor just going to sit in this corner and wait for those players to push on through. Stuns up his Connor, or it doesn't matter too much. Has a support from Chakster and Wardy. He himself will pick up the one of those gunfights. TMT in control with 20 seconds left. Maybe Young Galactics get this one more look in, but honestly, at this point, I think they may be better served just making the rotation.
Yeah, probably just want to be able to favor yourself going in towards 4, but again, not exactly a long rotation when you think from 3 to 4 here on Bocage. You can put yourself over there pretty darn lickety-split. Just have to be able to break it from the front and find yourself a rotational gunfights going in towards the barn. So TMT will be able to look up the last few seconds there on 3, but as it all is said and done, you have to be able to make your way through the middle of the map. Young Galactics are set up inside of P4 to be ready for them.
Should be. Aren't they actually, though? That's the question. Real able to pick up one up top. Connor trying to find his way on through. He's on a 6 spree at the moment, looking for kill number 7. It's neither here nor there whether he actually gets it. Those streaks have already been earned, but at this point, that's kind of why he's playing this super passively. He knows he's taking this time away from Young Galactics, and that's really the plan, I think, for TMT at the moment, as Real is going to take both of those players down who are contesting the hill. Matters not. BB Connor has earned those streaks, and that's something to keep an eye on as we go further into this hard point.
Still knotted up, though. Keeping it close within a handful of seconds. So we did see that with Young Galactics versus the Originals. It was pretty close going through a handful of hard points, but then something snapped Galactics, and it all just started spiraling out of control. Double positive for Real. 16 and 8. April, and a very tough gunfight. Does have the MP40 versus the Automaton of Lucky, who does find 2 on the bounce. So they're going to be able to put themselves in the back for these hedge spawns. A little battle going in for the initial time, down by 5. Chakster will be taken down, and a teammate comes out from Metal's hands. Take down their own teammate of Journey. Streaks also being called in. Be able to find much of anything besides some information. And still Young Galactics holding the line, getting themselves some hard point time here in 5.
April trying to play from the back line here. He's basically all on his lonesome, but that's not a problem for Maple at the moment. He will pick up 2 kills before finally falling, and TMT spawning in Narnia as far as this hard point is concerned. That being said, it's not all that large of a distance for between Narnia and this hard point at the moment. Young Galactics doing a great job of zoning off these players, keeping them away from the hill. And while all this is going down, Young Galactics getting the hill time. Lucky now on a 5 spree, looking for kill number 6 and 7. We'll find it. That is a rat kill, by the way. Taps Maple out of the play. And TMT just can't put a stop to him at the moment. Finally, they will, but that's after 7 consecutive kills and some streaks on the board.
You go back to Modern Warfare with Maple, and the 1911 pistol was absolutely nuts with it. Now it's Lucky's turn with the rat pistol here in Vanguard. A few titles in between the two, but even still, been interesting to say the least, the value that Lucky's been able to find with the rat pistol all season long. A little bit of a lead starting to grow now for Young Galactics. We go in towards another set of hard points. Very scrappy in the middle of the hill. Chakster trying to keep things mixy. We'll be able to find one on top of the balcony. Is able to soften up Journey for Wardy to get the final blow. But when it's all said here in the first hard point, you're battling for two different reasons. You want to be able to get some hard point time, but you also want to be able to get in towards the back, where Young Galactics are currently holding the spawn in the rotation going over towards New. Still 25 seconds left to battle. TMT making the right call. Just make sure they can keep players inside the barn.
Jackster trying to find a route in from behind. Will do so by picking up that first kill. Usually traded out, though, from Young Galactics here. Journey with this SMG pressure he's provided for this team time and time again has been immaculate. This time around, it won't do anything, though, as gunfight's going back and forth. It will be TMT in control for now. And this is where we're going to start to see these streaks coming on through from Young Galactics. This is a good time. They really want to put the nail in to this game, and that is a nice kill coming through from Lucky. Will provide some space here for Royale and Metals to get onto the hard point.
You also have Real just zoning away inside a barn as well. He's going to be playing for the information. He's able to take down Maple and Jackster trying to work their way inside said barn. But Metals is trying to make the heads-up play. He's making sure that nobody can funnel out from that little rooftop that does ensue outside of the barn. Rick's going to come through. TMT, again, still into the backside of these spawns. Young Galactics essentially just holding from the front now. We'll probably be looking at one more good hit towards this hard point before finally setting up for Grannies.
Young Galactics going to pick up the rest of that time here. This is a good amount of time, I think, for Young Galactics. TMT will not want to have given this away. Unfortunately, they have done so. I'm surprised we didn't actually see much streak usage coming out, because BB Connor still has those in the back pocket, right? So for TMT, now might be some of those times where you're considering using them, especially as you do not have control of this rotation. You fought tooth and nail for what is 5 to 10 seconds of scrap time, and we move over towards this rotation now. This has to be an immediate break coming in from TMT. You cannot afford to let Young Galactics run away with this game. There's that first kill coming in from Jackster. Now looking to do some more damage. Metals, unfortunately for him, has sniffed him out, and TMT, despite wanting to break in straight away, not able to.
No entry inside of Granny's. He's not done baking her cookies yet in Young Galactics. They are just shutting the door in TMT's face, but 40 trying to make an argument for it. Is able to work their way in, but it's the only player that's up and pushed up. TMT, and they're going to get dealt with Metals off the respawn for themselves, and I was going to force all of TMT back. Again, 70 points in the lead. Young Galactics is running away with another Bocage hardpoint. Things were tight. Things were competitive after the first set, and now the strides are being found by Young Galactics. They just seemingly can't lose a gunfight. Yeah, Jackster takes down Journey, but it's the convincing kill feed that is constantly being found for Young Galactics, which is why they're just starting to let this why they're snowballing this out of control.
Really does feel like this game has spiraled out of control, doesn't it? TMT, they couldn't get control of that last hard point. Now moving into this one, they need to hold on. Metals coming from behind. Nobody's shut him down just yet. Has the support of Lucky with the automaton. And just like that, Young Galactics have found their way through. TMT at the moment, they kind of look battered in this game. They've really been worn down. Young Galactics have just done a stellar job of keeping TMT at bay time and time again. BB Connor doesn't have those streaks anymore from earlier on. He has been shut down. Young Galactics is in such a good position here.
Yep, in a fantastic position again. Another clean kill feed. Even finding down the teammate of Real. I mean, if anybody's going to shut down the young Phenom at 33 and 20, might as well be a teammate, I guess. 210 and counting on up. Can't close it out here on 4, but TMT have to essentially play that phrase that we do love as commentators and analysts. Got to be perfect. Hard point of Journey. Almost able to get themselves a good look at 3. Jackster will shut them down. Finds a 2 off the back end here on 4, but you have to essentially close out the last little bit of scrap time here. You have to win the spawns for 5, and you have to snowball the upcoming set of hard points as well. And it's a heads-up play for Metals. Puts themselves at the back of the Willow Tree, has a long-range engagement versus Connor. They will lose that engagement. Things will subside for the time being. TMT will get themselves in for the initial time.
Indeed they will. Again, say perfect hard point. They do have an opportunity to come back into this game. They need basically a full 60 off the back of this hard point, and they've got some positions ready to do that. Maple able to get down 1. This is the problem, though, I think that TMT will end up facing, is the fact that Young Galactics, off the back of their dominance in this game thus far, they've been able to accumulate quite the amount of streaks in the back pocket. Now Journey doesn't even need streaks. He's doing it all with his SMG. Of course, the rest of his team will definitely contribute. This is a problem, though. Young Galactics won't be able to finish it here, but they can kind of bully TMT into this backyard spawn.
25 seconds are all Young Galactics need. So knowing that TMT are going to have those far spawns, considering that Lucky just spawned in on the backside of Barn. That's a little re-entry coming back in, though, as Connor again will find another 2. They're on a 3 spree currently. You can somehow work your way into streaks. TMT, that could be the catalyst for them to be able to work their way fully back into this game, but 3 dead, that's not going to be in a great spot to be. Now just 19 seconds are all Young Galactics need to take that 1.
This has looked so good for them in the hard point. They've really started to run away with this one. TMT One last push to try and put a stop to it. Maple able to pick up one. He will remove the player from the hard point. Young Galactics, though, making this look like an inevitability. Trying to close this one out. Connor, he will pick up one before falling. 5 seconds remaining. All that Young Galactics need. Lucky next up to bat. Try and put a stop to it. Metals picks up 4 in the kill feed, though. Young Galactics, what a way to close out map number 1. TMT, they just looked exhausted.
Not through the first set, though. Again, you know, when it comes down to this Young Galactics roster, right? I mean, like, they are just constantly and just so able to be able to read what the enemy team is starting to look like across the entirety of the map, especially on Bocage. And then going in towards the second set, I mean, that's when they were just preserving the gear. It almost feels like they're messing with like an 8 heavy Hemi 8-speed engine at this point. That they start off in 5th gear. They slowly work their way into 6th gear, and then once the second set of hardpoints start to ensue, they just hit it all the way into 8th gear, and then they're just flying at you at 250 miles per hour, and the enemy team just simply cannot pull themselves back from such a deficit. This is why we keep talking about the Young Galactics roster. I'm gonna sound like a broken record to this Clutch stream at this point, man, because even walking away from that win that they had versus the Originals, this is another reason why we keep on regarding them as the one of the, if not the best hardpoint team that we have in Europe right now.
Yeah, for sure. Sugary Bakery, they looked real. Oh, sorry, Sugary Bakery. Young Galactics looked really good. It's because we got the banner at the top. I'm getting confused here. Young Galactics looked really good there, I think, is the bottom line. And, you know, it was close at the start, right?
Sure.
TMT were holding them close, but it kind of felt like as soon as Young Galactics really started to get the steam rolling, TMT didn't really have much of a response, of course. TMT short for the money team. If you didn't know, you know, this is a name that they've used over the course. So I think it's Connor and Chaxter particularly they've used for a variety of their teams over the course of the last few months. And we look at the stat lines, it's not really a surprise to see the usual suspects performing as well as we kind of expected them to. Royale 39 and 25, Metals 28 and 22, Lucky 30 and 21, all score lines which we kind of expect. Journey, more muted performance from him, I suppose, at 26 and 29, but regardless, they all get the job done. They all contribute to what is an stellar hardpoint victory between these two teams, Young Galactics versus TMT. But let's move on to our focus matchup for the second set here. Sucre's Bakery going head-to-head with United Nations. You want to see as much success as a Greg's Bakery if you're Sucre's here. And, well, I think they're probably going to be honest. United Nations not in their best spot coming into this one.
No, they're really not. I mean, United Nations coming away from their loss now find themselves at a unfortunate place as far as the overall standings are concerned. Now 1-4 and winning a total of 6 maps. They are completely out of contention to be able to qualify for the double elimination bracket. Doesn't mean you can't play upset for the seeding, as it may end up playing out for itself. Sucre's Bakery are one of those teams that still need to put themselves in a situation to be able to take down the best team. That's going to be happening tomorrow. Sucre's Bakery versus the Young Galactics. Definitely one you want to be putting in your calendar to be able to watch tomorrow, no matter the stream that it will be playing out for, just for seeding purposes. But Sucre's Bakery here on Hardpoint for Bocage. Not exactly a strong suit when it comes down to Hardpoint as a whole, especially on the day. They lost both the Hardpoints to Revenge Tour in that barn burner of 5 series, and looking to keep things mixy going into this Bocage for the time being. UN currently holding on to those favorite spawns. Eric Boom going to try to battle for that, knowing that they do have one player at back there. It's going to be Abusa. They get dealt with. Eric Boom's going to find themselves too, trying to anchor out these spawns for the upcoming Hardpoint.
And this is the real threat from Sucre's Bakery, of course. Eric Boom, the technically speaking newest player on the roster, returning to this team after a time away on that Ponder replay roster, looking pretty good. However, he will get shut down. United Nations off the back of this will be spawning towards this back line. Sucre, how ready for is this guy, though? Up the 1 kill, Super with another one of his own, and enables Sucre's Bakery to find their way into this hard point. United Nations spawning over towards that riverbed side. With 20 seconds left, maybe they give this one more go, but I think in this particular position, Andy, they might be better served moving over towards that rotation. That is what they've done, especially as Jerd Sports up over there.
I mean, you put Abusa in this exact position, you try to get a couple of exit eliminations. They're able to take down Sucre, so you battle for the scrap time, but the biggest issue with all of that is, your point is that Eric Boom was able to put themselves on the back God Heady over by that tank. And then that actually opens up the floodgates for Yako to hit it up from the Willow Tree. Now the spawns have completely flipped. So you got those 8 seconds. What did it cost? I might argue in a few seconds here, Brody, that it might cost everything.
Mine will cost everything. Sucre's Bakery, they found their way into this hard point. Sucre, the namesake for this roster, able to pick up one with the Rat Pistol, looking to do some more damage as Jerd, the closest player to the play for now. Henry in the back line as well. Could well cause some damage here in terms of flipping the spawns. It would be a nice time to do it. But as he does get sniffed out, pushed away from the hard point also. Sukri's Bakery continue to rack up this time, regardless of the fact that Jerd is kind of dipping and diving, dodging and weaving up top there in Grandma's. He will be quickly and swiftly shut down out of the play. United Nations, for all of their efforts here, Andy, they just cannot find a way back into the hard point. Sukri's Bakery are just doing such a good job at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they take that as an opportunity once they start losing their numbers to give up the back hedge spawns. United Nations are going to have to feel comfortable with these last few seconds. Whalers with the bullet hose. Going to find any sort of exit pick. Eric Boom's going to go for the challenge, and we'll take Eric down. So now on the rotation going over to 4. Again, just quite literally across the courtyard as Super goes for a little bit of a bunny hop chow. We'll take down Henry now on 4 in a row. 1 away from getting that glide bomb. Everybody else from United Nations are just crumbling around this barn area. We'll have the closer spawns here, Brody. Got to be able to read this. Super's going to get the information that they're coming in from the back.
Crucial moment here in this game. Super wants to put a stop to this one. It would be great for him, and he gets that 5th kill in a row. That's a glide bomb on board for Sukri's Bakery as the scoreline in this particular game continues to rise for this roster. United Nations, can they put a stop to Super? Well, not before he has earned the strafing run, so things continuing to look bright in the future for Sukri's Bakery. And look at this aggression from Super as well. He is not content with sitting inside the barn, really wants to pressure the issue, especially when there's 15 seconds left. He has his heart set on this rotation. Keep an eye on Sukri as well on a 4 spree. Things are looking just so great for Sukri's Bakery at the moment.
Super fishing for some timing, maybe trying to catch a player inside the staircase, maybe trying to catch a player in the back. It's actually going to make the go-ahead call that I'm going to call in the streak. Know that UN is back here, that they're trying to get set up for 5, and that's a great kill to be able to utilize with that glide bomb. Take out Whalers, there's that player over by the willow tree. The clutch spot, if you will, to be able to shut down all of the plays that could end up coming all the way through. Nobody from Sukri's Bakery was able to get into the back, so close spawn still in effect for UN, but the gunfights need to go their way too.
Indeed it does, and I tell you what, to be fair, Abuser and Whalers combined for 3. Finally, we see some resistance coming out of this United Nations roster for really, I think, the first time in this game. A wave of kills now coming in their favor. Abuser starting to really heat up in this one. Whalers towards the back line as a couple of players do end up spawning over towards the hedge. Sukri has managed to find his way through, and that's Abuser out of the play as well, to note. So no streaks for him. Whalers now starting to put together a streak of his own, though. 1 more kill, a glide bomb in his hand. He gets it as well versus Super. Looking for the strafing run, will find it. Whalers on fire at the moment as United Nations want to kind of brute force their way back into this game.
Beautiful shots, and Whalers is able to pick up an MP40. Not done yet, now on 7 in a row. Looking to play for the backside here as the back end of the scrap time will be soaked up. Still about, I don't know, casual 80 points in between these two teams going in towards the second set here, Brody. So still a lot more work has to be done, and Whalers will be cut down. Not like you're going to be able to get more streaks after you do get the strafing run, but damage to the back will be mitigated for Sukri's Bakery. Spread across on all different fronts. Henry, a heads up read that was, to be able to read that Eric Boom was coming up from the staircase, knowing that there's potentially more players coming from the back. As one up top, it's going to be Yako to take down Henry as we go in towards the second set. 30 seconds remaining inside P1. And what United Nations are doing so well off the damage of what Whalers was able back.
Well, United Nations not going to get any of this time, despite kind of zoning off Sukri's Bakery towards this back line. They finally are going to put somebody into the hard point. That's going to be Eric Boom, sorry, that actually will be in for Sukri's Bakery. It is United Nations that are kind of being pushed over towards that back line. But they are in control of this rotation. This is going to be their best looking, I think, so far in this game to really start to put a mark into this matchup. They need to do it now. Super comes in. We'll actually use a strafing run, and it will take himself out. Those strafing runs, you know, I said it on the timeline the other day, they do not discriminate between friend or foe, and in this case, you're your own damn self.
We don't know which side that fighter pilot is playing for at the end of the day. You just call in the streak and you say, I'll get a jet to fly over here and throw some bullets, please, as I have no discretion whatsoever. But as far as P2 is concerned, United Nations making a big argument for themselves again. Those close spawns not yet fully being upset. Yako off screen almost had a good look to be able to find 2. It'll be Sukri to clean up that kill onto Henry. 3rd for the return fire. But as we put ourselves over towards the east side of the map, it's going to be a big old battle for these head spawns. Now, Whalers is trying to make the heads up play. Still has full streaks. What the stun for Eric Boom just to check out this corner. Going to have to win this gunfight going forward, and Eric Boom absolutely slams Whalers to the ground.
United Nations. Well, they have got control of this rotation. They are, or Sukri's Bakery, sorry, in control of this rotation. Super up top. Going to cause some damage. Won't find anything just yet. Going to try and find a route in from behind, though, to try and take down Jerd. Will do so. Looking for some more kills now versus Abuser. Will not find it. So United Nations now have to make their way through the front. And Whalers finally utilizing one of these streaks. It's all for a naught, though. It does basically nothing for pressure. Nobody there to capitalize on it. And there's not even any kill made by that glide bomb to capitalize on. So Sukri's Bakery, unbothered, basically.
Yeah, completely unscathed, right? I mean, if you're United Nations, you call in that streak to maybe get some players trying to rotate through the middle of the map, but you need to be able to capitalize that from the front to be able to break inside the hard point. It comes through, finally, but for scrap time. We're down to just 12 seconds remaining inside the hard point, Brody. With Sukri's Bakery, with the way that they actually lost that gunfight, you can see what it means on the minimap. Eric Boom is still holding that position inside of Tools, and you still have players that are spawning in by the hedges. That forces Sukri's Bakery to hit through 3 one more time. And now that's the go call for Eric Boom. Work their way in from the back. They found one before we popped in for Sukri. For their streak, they'll clean up Whalers in the back. They know that there's one more player inside. That'll be Jerd. Yako cleans them up, lickety-split. They completely set up themselves to break on early. United Nations not allowed to get the setup they're looking for on 4.
Siba trying to play his life. Did a good job, to be fair, picking up a couple of kills before falling. United Nations will be spawning gear in the backline. Eric falling is lonesome for now, but he is a monster player. Could definitely rise to the challenge, and he will pick up the first couple of gunfights. Abuser be taken down by Suba. Sukri's Bakery, well, they zone out all of these players. United Nation don't even get to breathe onto the hard point at the moment as Eric Boom and co. keeping them at arm's length. They are not getting a looking. Finally, they do. But at the end of the day, Andy, it's for 10 seconds of scrap time.
Yeah, 10 seconds of scrap time here, 14 seconds of scrap time back on 3, and a handful back over by 2. That's really just been all of United Nations' time, hasn't it? I mean, maybe 5 seconds for initial here and there, but they're just battling for that last little bit of scrap time in Sukri's Bakery that are able to absolutely thrive within the chaos here on Bokaj, specifically coming out of the beams that are their SMG lineup right now. And it's from all of that, they're going to constantly be able to berate the hardpoint and get themselves an abundance of time. 217 v 120, going in towards P5. Henry dropping from the top of the Dovecot tower. Will take down at least one, but needs to end up finding at least 3 more, which they cannot do. Going to be Sukri's Bakery yet again, break inside the hardpoint.
Super. Trying to zone off these players at the front of the hill. Remember, Sukri's Bakery, they only need 30 more points overall, so that is all they're required to finish off this game. They won't be getting it just yet, though, as we reach the 20-second left mark in this hard point. Sukri's Bakery will need to go to the next rotation to win. I think they recognize that, hence why they're not really bothering to go much for that scrap time whatsoever. They will actually get a look at it anyway, as Sukri picks up 2, but at this point, it's more incidental than anything. Got streaks to close this one out, Andy. Sukri's Bakery, they've got a hell of a lot sat in their arsenal, in their locker. Can they do it?
More of a when at this point. When Sukri's Bakery just going to close it out. Super is just outmaneuvering so many different players. Catches Jerd off guard now on a 4. Has potential of 5 to be behind them, but it's going to be Sukri that cleans them up with that automaton from range. In towards another set of hardpoints we go. Seconds. Perfect hardpoint comes to mind here for United Nations. Well, those 3 kills are starting to make an argument for it. They can't necessarily put a player inside the hardpoint, though, Brody, as they have to make sure that they're reading where the spawns are coming from, while also making sure that they lock the rotations down on the backside of the barn. And they're doing it all. They're able to find all of the kills in succession of one another. You have to understand that when Henry's in the position they are, that the spawns are going to be coming in from the back of the hedges, and they're reading it.
Sukri's Bakery, they can't get into the hill, and they will once again have to move over towards the tree hardpoint yet to try and finish off this game. Jerd able to pick up 1. Shaky shots, though, means that he's not going to be able to do it in time to get a second. Now, Sukri will be the player in for this time. Eric Boom trying to get control of Barn. United Nations refusing to give up here, Andy. They will not let this one go easily. Whalers wants to try and zone these players off from Grandma's. He will be shut down, but Super hears those streaks coming on through. It's enough to zone these players out to make sure they don't touch the hill. But in doing so, there is only 25 seconds left. United Nations are doing a good job of keeping Sukri's Baker away.
Yeah, they're doing a great job at that. 40 seconds remaining inside the hard point. 24 seconds remaining inside the game clock. You soak all of this up, you're going to be at the 190 margin, but you lose this upcoming gunfight, that's going to be the game. And Sukri's Baker are going to be able to take it. It's a 2-for-1 trade. Close spawn still in effect. Flank play coming all the way through. Sukri will take down Whalers. Do they deal with it in time? They sure will. Still the 1v1 going on inside the hard point, and it will go the way of Sukri's Bakery. You had to play it perfectly going forward, otherwise the game clock was going to be your biggest adversary, but that hard point was won throughout the second set of hills. Again, it was just such a big lead that Sukri's Bakery found for themselves, Brody. United Nations just could not find themselves an answer. Not until too late, until Whalers found themselves on that 7 spree. But as a collective, you look from top to bottom, Sukri's Bakery, not a single member didn't fall off. They all popped off.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem. I think when you're going up into a roster like Sukri's Bakery, we've already seen them do extremely well so far in Stage 1 of Challengers Elite here in Europe. They are a roster that can come out swinging, and that's exactly what happens when you let them do it. And we always discuss that on a map such as Spicage. It's deadly when that happens. That is really the bottom line. You cannot let a deficit of more than 30 points really come your way, if that will, and fight for seeding at this point, because at the top of Challengers Elite is heavily stacked. But looking over towards our replays here for this one, it was a good start, I think, for Sukri's Bakery. I think that's basically all we can say.
I mean, you even see right here, we're going into P5, and it was 130 v 47. So Whalers goes on the 7 spree. That was the only slight bit of change of pace to mitigate the pressure that Sukri's Bakery were laying on them. It's just can't go without saying that this team of Sukri's Bakery, again, Brody, we know them as the former Mavericks roster. We know that they have what it takes to be able to play as a collective four. A little shaky when they first came into the elite stage just last week. Unfavorable positions for themselves, and that's due to the fact that it almost felt disjointed. You have Yako that's going to continue to play that selfless role. Very tough to be able to be the OBJ player in Search and Destroy, because it more or less means that you're going to put down the bomb, and that's all you can find for yourself. But if you go back to Cup number 5, they had shown an amazing turnaround. Yako, then again, playing out for the timing off of the information that the rest of the team has been finding for themselves, not only garners themselves a bomb plant, but it can also garner them to get out with their life, and we know what Yako can do when they're set loose.
See whether or not Yako can be the monster that Sukri's Bakery need here in this one. To be honest, any of them can come out and really destroy United Nations. They're just that talented of a team. Let's not count out that roster, though. United Nations also have some good moments so far in this season. As we jump into this one, 2 for 2 we go. This is as quick as a round as you like. Spicage, Search and Destroy. I don't know where we really expect anything different at this point, to be honest. Spicage is just a hyper quick map. Whalers, though, in a 1 versus 2 makes it possible. And, well, it's going to be Yako coming out on top.
Yeah, you only have 25 bullets in that magazine for the automaton. You had to sponge about 20 bullets just to be able to find the first kill. Love that little call that came through there at the end for Sukri's Bakery. Again, just double up together. Worst comes to worst, they just find one. Almost held hands just a little bit too close, though, if they'll line up and give themselves 2. But, yeah, will end up being that first round. Pan out wonderfully for Sukri's Bakery on the offense. The bomb was even dropped over by the shed, so Very scary moment, but even still, hopping off of this Bokaj Search and Destroy, this is actually the map 2 win that they had versus Revenge Tour. They won 6-4. I love this little call coming through. What an aggressive push coming through from the Riverwalk. It just does not pan out.
Well, Super left up in a 1 versus 4. He's got the sniper rifle in hand. This would be a crazy 1 versus 4 if he can make it happen. Unfortunately, he really does find himself stuck between multiple rocks, multiple hard places, an infinite number of both, and United Nations as clean as you like.
Imagine he finds that hip fire headshot. I shaved my man bun tonight.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I would have.
Super, please hit something.
I would have.
Please.
I would. Hey, I said that one specifically. I'm not gonna pull a Katie Bedford. I'm not gonna let it play out in the future. Yeah. I'm a Captain Hindsight kind of type guy. Yeah, not gonna shave my head. Get wrecked, Brody. As much as you would love to see it.
Imagine the timeline where we got a bald Katie Bedford and a bald proper
and a bald Fickle all within like the same month. Like that would.
Oh my god, yeah. It's crazy. Everyone's going bald, dude. I'm not doing it though because my hair won't grow back regardless. Jumping into this one. 1-on-1 we go at the moment. And as slow as you like, you know, these rounds really sometimes polarizing, right? You know, sometimes you see these rounds where teams just kind of run at one another. This is not one of those rounds. Sukri's Bakery definitely taking their time.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing off of the pick again with the sniper rifle and play on Bokaj, something you don't really see all too often, but in the hands of Super, we've even seen this happen on like Berlin search for Sukri's Bakery. He's not afraid to get up close and personal with this sniper rifle, overlooking their comrade. Sukri will take down Henry for first blood. That should be the go to try to get themselves inside of A and try to force out the advantage that they have to plant the bomb.
Similarly, United Nations, you have to imagine, would start to really pick up the pace here in this round. Oh, Jerd will actually take some shots in from Eric Boom, but Jerd's shots just a little bit better. Will now even the opposite 3 for 3, but just like that, Yakko able to pick up Jerd and Whalers. It is just Abuser. The young gun left up in a 1 versus 3. Impressed highly last season. Is one of the players to watch on this United Nations roster. Now has a 1 versus 3 to pull off. Gets the first kill. Now has quite a lot of time to work for the other two, but making a long flank here. It's repositioning. Trying to spot out either of these players. Of course, now going to check up this power position and make sure that nobody is sat up here. That is not the case whatsoever. Super and Sukri not playing in that classic position. Have outsmarted Abuser. Now Abuser just going to have to go no holds barred into the point, but those players are there. Nice jump shot. I think that was Super to pick up the glass gunfight. And Abuser, I mean, he can lap the map as much as he wants. He ain't getting that round.
Yeah, again, you know, that just is what we expect out of Sukri's Bakery. Nice little search and destroy round coming through, baiting out positioning. You know, although Jerd was able to find that one pick on the top side of the water wheel, it was all for naught. Just too many players there for Sukri's Bakery to have the crossfire. Would have loved for Abuser to almost have a nade in that exact moment, just to be able to check the site. They had no ordinances remaining. Be another offense in play here for United Nations. They're actually favoring to work their way over towards B. Now, Sukri is over here. You're going to be the player in the main line for defense. Does take down Jerd. They're stunned up, so they can't get away with their life. That's more than enough information for Sukri's Baker to collapse on this offensive push.
Sukri did just spot Henry, forced him to kind of scarper in the mid-map. Henry almost walks away with a kill versus Eric Boom, and even gets a second look in there. Henry trying to play his life. He is boxed in here. Whalers falls right behind him. He's trying to dip and dive away. It's going to be a nice smoke play to do exactly that. But in the meantime, Super and Yakko really starting to screw the nails here in this one. Henry left up all on his lonesome. He's been forced right at the very back of the map. Do what you can, Henry, mate. I mean, you can try and survive. He's already picked up that first kill. He's made it a realistically possible situation. But it's not long before Sukri's Bakery hunting down.
No, not at all. And again, that is all off the back end of the play. You have one player over by the willow tree who ends up seeing one stun come over. And then they hit the timing to be able to see if they can get a player in a pick, which they do find. And then they saw 2 players. The only time when you have 2 players over there is by some stretch of the imagination. They're going for a 2-2 split on opposite sides of the map. 2 players over by the tank line or the barn, 2 players down by the Riverwalk. That never happens in Search and Destroy. So the immediate call was for Eric to then put themselves over by the shed and to blow up the play that much more. Sukri's Bakery now with a 2-round lead, going to take an aggressive hit over towards A.
Once again, they are waiting for something before they end up putting this bomb down. Aggression onto Henry. At least Henry gets to affirm that, hey, look, these guys are over at A. Can somebody come and help me out? And he will get exactly that assistance as Whalers does take down Sukri. So now 3 versus 4 for Sukri's Bakery. They don't have the numbers to make this work. Now they're trying to force it elsewhere. Eric Boom with the flank could well be the playmaker here. They have no idea where he is, but a 1 versus 4. The situation when he started making this flank has completely and utterly changed. He goes for the Hail Mary shot versus Whalers. Doesn't get the kill. Abuse is going to come in for the help. Eric, yeah, you might want to just kind of run out the map at this point, buddy.
Oh, he almost gave himself a look at. Maybe even being able to find the first. I mean, being able to at least dent the lives would have been nice. Maybe walk away and not allow any other player there for United Nations to build closer towards streaks, but that was just a definitive door slam in the face. It comes down to an offensive push over towards A. You just have to deal with so many different players on the backside over by that water wheel, right, Brody? I mean, if you have players up in top grandmas, specifically that one window that can look at the alleyway that leads up to the water wheel, that one player up there is just going to get infinite amount of information. And this is a lineup and a half. Eric Boom, you nerd. Is that going to garner him a kill? Doesn't even find damage. That would have been nuts. But Whalers says, hey, your nade didn't find a kill, but I'll go ahead and eat mine for breakfast. Sure.
Yeah, he's kind of feeling sorry for Eric. He hasn't got a kill so far in this game. So he thought, well, you know, the nade didn't land, so I'll give you one. Finally, Eric will pick one up on the board himself. Doesn't need any need to do it. Look at the second as well. You Eric! Buddy! You got to finish your food. You don't get dessert until you finish your mains. 3 versus 1 anyway. Sukri's Bakery will close out the round, but Eric, I'm disappointed, mate.
Eric is the type of individual that asks for a second cut of steak before he even touches his potatoes or his broccoli on his plate, for sure.
Is that what you have with your steak, Andy? Is it
broccoli and potatoes?
Broccoli and potatoes?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's either that, asparagus, green beans. You know, you definitely want to have yourself like a nice vegetable on the side. But potatoes and steak, I mean, come on. Get yourself over
dude,
to America.
I want you to cook me some steak now.
I will cook you a nice steak. That's for sure. But Sukri's Bakery cooking up a nice search and destroy lead. 2 rounds here. 7-3 for Yako. OBJ player. Not going to take this as an opportunity to get in the middle of the map. And, well, Abusa actually finds the timing to find 2. And Henry blows up Eric. And that's going to leave poor Sukri on a 1v odd situation. And here comes UN on the prowl.
We were discussing these ultra-fast search and destroy rounds right on Bakaj. It's really it's a lottery. As casters, what kind of search and destroy round you're going to get. This is one of those ones where everything happens in an instant. Now everything kind of has slowed up to a snail's pace here. Sukri all on his lonesome in a 1 versus 2. It was a 1 versus 3, so he has made this more possible. I think he was kind of waiting for one of these players to push him. That hasn't happened. I think United Nations wise to the plate. It's going to force Sukri to try and find that advantage himself. Might have just got spied out by Henry. He was at the top. I think that has been the case as Henry now looking both directions. Expects Sukri to push him. And actually, Sukri wins the fight, but it doesn't matter. Abuser will trade things out. But it was tense for a second there.
He's the main chef. He is the baker. It is Sukri's Bakery. I want to piss off the GM. Come out swinging like that. Nice little angle, though. Just to shut things down. You know, more often when you see offensive pushes happening through the middle of the map like that, they'll have the immediate information to look over at the gate. But United Nations have never challenged out from gate. I mean, honestly, why would you at that point? But they make the heads-up play. It was Abusa over by the gate itself. To be able to shut down those 2 players early, effectively stopping the push right in the middle. Now we have a lot of space being provided. This is that same setup that actually happened last time around. Sukri did not find the challenge that time around. The nade a little bit closer towards the willow tree. Yako will take down 1 player. That's Henry with the nade. As soon as you challenge out Sukri, you'll lose your life. Numbers advantage here for Sukri's Bakery, even though Sukri will go down.
He's up 1 versus 3. What do you got for us, buddy? Bomb is about as far away as you could possibly get from yourself in this position, although he does have a bit of time to work with. Got to imagine, as soon as he goes for this bomb, as soon as one of these players spots him out, they should collapse on him, and it's unfortunate, isn't it? In that position, you're just looking for any advantage you can get with 50 seconds on the clock. He will actually get that kill against Yako. Nicely done for Abuser. Does he recognize that Eric Boom is coming in on the flank, though? I actually think Eric didn't see him, but Super with a sniper rifle might. I'll tell you what, Abuser, he's getting very lucky here. Eric didn't see him, Super didn't see him. Now Super will, though, and that's a round closer there from Super. As Sukri's Bakery find themselves on map point.
Quick, decisive gunfights constantly ensuing in the middle of the map, and this time around the 2-2 split, again, does not pay dividends. They also didn't have a 3rd player behind them. The last time we actually saw it was a 3-1, not a 2-2, excuse me. And the one player that was left alive over by the barn just could not get through the middle of the map in time. The moment that they tried, that window up inside of Granny's is going to be a frustrating cross, to say the least, when you're trying to help out your comrades. Now, Sucre's Bakery, to your point, up on map point. Going to take this as another aggressive hit in the middle of the map. United Nations try to answer back, but timing's not in their favor this time around.
United Nations coming out swinging here in round number 9. Now just looking to further their advantage. Yakko in the mid-map, though, will actually put it somewhat back towards Sucre's Bakery. Still not fully, though. It's 3 versus 2. Oh, it's courageous, I think, from Super.
Courageous, for sure.
The MP40 is a pretty good weapon. I think Super is kind of overestimating just how good it is, though. T and Yakko. But they're still the attackers in this round. They need to do everything, especially as Yakko will end up falling. This becomes all the harder to do for Super at 1 versus 3.
Giving himself a real good look at it. I mean, he's in the back. The bomb is dropped inside of Granny. Super's going to collect it. They can possibly extend this round, but the problem is that United Nations have already cleared out a B, and has Super made the heads-up play. He's going to come to the back and try to go for the quick plan over at B. He's on a 3 here, Brody, so you do have rounds to play with. Just trying to fish away a couple of kills, maybe get yourself some streaks would be the right call. Gets a look on 1. It's stunned up through the middle of the map, and Whalers will shut it down. And that's a frustrating round if you are Sucre's Bakery again. You actually made the play on the outside of the tank formation to be able to get over towards that A side, right? But for United Nations, what they did is they bring themselves back a few 2 rounds ago, where Abusa did find 2 in the middle of the map. Sucre's Bakery did not want that to happen this time, so they actually go on the backside of the barn. But then that completely opened up the flank, of which United Nations capitalize on, and then they just blow up the play from the back end. Sucre's Bakery probably asking themselves how the heck they got back there so quickly. It's because no one was looking at the flank, nobody was looking mid-map. Now 1 round in between the 2. Sucre's Bakery still on map point. Going to be United Nations taking a hefty focus over towards this barn for their offense.
Oh, nice first blood coming in from Yakko. United Nations. And they do try and even the odds in this one. Jerd with the bomb in hand. Can't quite find the comfortableness to get this bomb down. There's a player on the other side of the door. Peekaboo, says Jerd. Throw a nade in to try and take down Yakko. Unfortunately for him, that nade will be on the other side of the wall. Jerd, it's a courageous play. Not going to result in anything, though, especially as Eric has taken down Abuser. It is just Jerd left up in a 1 versus 4. Good luck, Jerd. And just as quickly as you say good luck to him, he's dead. He's dead, mate. He's out of the round.
Need a little more than luck there. Again, it was just all off of fantastic nades to open up the round. That's all the information you really need. You got players coming over towards the backside of the barn. You are able to read that, and then you're able to then collapse on it from the top side of Granny. So wonderfully played out there. I'm sure a lot closer than what Sucre and their bakery had wanted, but even still, find themselves up 2-0 as far as the series count is concerned. And this is, again, what we wanted for Sucre's Bakery. We want them to come out as dominant as possible. If they want to be the first seed going into that double elimination bracket, which they still have the chance to do with the head-to-head over money form, it's going to come down versus Young Galactics tomorrow, Brody. It has to be a definitive win here versus this United Nations roster.
Yeah, it does. And as we look over towards the control as well, I think things are not looking great for United Nations. I will say one thing. We'll take a look at the stats first and foremost here. Yakko, 11 and 6, great player. We talked about him coming into the Search and Destroy. I think, ironically enough as well, we talk about Yakko playing the selfless role in Search and Destroy. Definitely doing a lot for himself there with that stat line. But really, I think that was a team effort from Sucre's Bakery. They just looked so solid, constantly hunting down for these United Nations players. Although, I think on the other hand, you've got to give credit to United Nations because it was a close S&D.
Well, when it comes down to the Bocause Search, comparatively to what we have seen from Sucre's Bakery, specifically last week, and hell, even through Cup number 5, is that Yakko, as well as Super, are proactively switching which one's going to be the bomb carrier depending on the hit. And this is a point that you and I brought up, even when it comes down to the sniper rifles. The way that this team plays on, like, a Berlin Search or a Tuscan is that Super and Sucre will switch off between snipers. This team is going to forever keep you guessing. Because whenever they're fulfilling the role, Super does not play the OBJ the same way that Yakko plays the OBJ. Sucre does not play the Card 90 AK role as Super plays the Card 90. They're just so proactive with how they're playing and fulfilling out the roles that are necessary on a round-around basis. That shows that they have a deep bag of tricks, and they're going to constantly keep the enemy team guessing. As we, to your point, framing up for this Tuscan control, well, it's not looking too good for this United Nations roster. Again, when we go in towards a Tuscan control, this is the only control map that they have played so far. They are at least going into the day 2-2 overall, but in their previous matchup versus Moneyform, they lost the Gavatu control 3-1. On the other side, Sukri's Bakery versus Revenge Tour. They 3-0'd him here, Brody.
Yeah, this is what I was gonna say. Sukri's Bakery, they haven't lost a control or elite, right? I just think that like you're looking at this team coming into the Tuscan. They look so strong. One thing I will say is, you know, we kind of said the same thing about Young Galactics and Originals earlier on, right, with Tuscan control. So, you know, I'm not gonna count my chickens before they're hatched here in this game. United Nations could well surprise. We've already seen one surprise today with Originals taking that control earlier on Tuscan versus Young Galactics. But in we go to this one. Could potentially be the final map between these two teams and really the nail in the coffin for United Nations' hopes and dreams in Elite Stage 1 before they face relegation and have to qualify again for Stage 2.
Trying to suggest that there's something about the Spaniards of playing Tuscan control right now, Brody. I don't like where you're going with this.
Hey, they're fast. They're fast. That's all I can say. Both of these teams are hyper fast.
Yeah, they are. And speaking of how fast they truly are, Sukri's Bakery is starting off on the offense. You would almost assume that giving through the opening rift, they were going to try to put themselves in a position maybe to capitalize on one of these zones, but Brody's point, hammer they lightning fast. Just try to get themselves to the backside of the church. Just comes up absolutely flat. They've only found 3 kills so far, Brody, so now they got to go back towards that tried and true control. Try to get themselves onto this A zone, but no one was watching the flank. Jerd's going to take down Yako for free. Again, keeping this defense, ticking down that clock with a hefty life margin.
Yeah, everything kind of looks aimless so far for Sukri's Bakery.
Yeah.
They don't really seem like they know what they're doing at the moment in the first few moments of this game. Hey, look, you've got a long way to go in this control. So far, though, United Nations have looked crisp. As Sukri's Bakery will finally get some control over A, looking to make this first tick of progression now. The Abuser coming in from behind, almost gets turned on by Super there. Thinks about it. Nice trigger discipline coming in from him. Now the rest of the squad, can they try and stop this A capture from coming on through? It is now just Henry over here. Whalers will be also joining the party sooner enough. Eric Boom, what can he do? He needs to stop the clock, actually. Eric Boom will need to push forward here against Whalers, whether or not he likes it. And Whalers just wasting time for the rest of the team. He sneaks his way around his corner, by the way, for that kill. Slow as you like. Eric Boom did not see that coming.
They're really starting to make a dent as far as that life lead is concerned for United Nations. You have to stay on this A zone, though. Eric Boom, hey, Jerd, how you doing? Quick little slide by. They just completely ripped the head off of George's shoulders, and now you have an opportunity. They're already top nest. They will have information on Abusa. Nice trigger discipline to guarantee themselves the kill. Now you have to wait for the play to coming all the way through. Again, egregious shots all the way into the back of the spawn, but waiting for the respawns is the right call. Catches Henry off guard. Eric Boom going on a little bit of a tear. 1 kill away from getting a glide.
Eric gets this. It's a good opportunity here for Sukri's Bakery. And how they've turned this round around, by the way. They were down by a hell of a lot of lives over towards A. Now they're looking to capture a B. They've got all the supporting gunfights, all the supporting engagements around the hill. Unfortunately for them, though, they will be wiped away. So 7 versus 8 we go. As Jerd takes down Supro with 50 seconds left on the clock. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds to get to the point. So Sukri's Bakery, they've got maybe one more hit left in this one. That's an open-end kill coming in from Sukri, though.
Influential, to say the least. 7v7, 3 respawns remaining for 2 different teams. But the biggest adversary right now is the game clock. 30 seconds remaining. Could be the last push coming out from Sukri's Bakery.
Dude, it is Abuser. He's putting some wayward shots on through. Gets punished for it, but keep an eye on Jerd coming through from behind. Will be able to play spoiler. Will anybody expect this play whatsoever? I don't think anybody knows this is coming. He's able to get 1, combines for 2 with Whalers. It's going to be a streak investment from Eric Boom. That might be one they regret as well, especially as Jacko is taken out of the play. It is just Super left up in a 1 versus 5. At this point, you might as well not give him another life. If you can kind of take one away from United Nations, hey, that's fine. But those lives will matter for potential round number 5. And Super thinks, heck it. I'm going to go for the play anyway. Doesn't matter too much. It's a Hail Mary. He doesn't fall. So all comes down to naught. But Sukri's Bakery, they can't do it despite really turning that round around.
Yeah, I mean, they sure did. But, like, why the glide bomb? I mean, like, I get it, Eric. You're feeling yourself. You're 11-7 through the first round. Really made yourself known when you came back off spawn through the middle of the map and getting that glide bomb. But that's a resource that you might end up needing, depending on how this offense ends up panning out. Of course, all just speculation. United Nations coming in for the offense doesn't go to what typically we see a lot of teams do. They win the defense. They typically go over towards that B zone. United Nations just playing tried and true control, heading over towards this A zone first. They're stacking it. I mean, for Sukri's Bakery, you got to get on here real fast if you want to be able to hold this A zone by any stretch of the imagination. Jerd says absolutely not. We'll take that free 60 seconds to go. No kills to speak of for Sukri's Bakery on this round so far.
Jerd Going to cause some problems over towards the church. So those are those aggressive doors Jerd has to face down. Gets slapped away, but it doesn't matter anyway. Jerd will survive the hit by the door, and now on a 7 spree will continue this aggressive play. Jerd on one of these players we said we really needed to step up this week. He is doing exactly that now, zoning off these players towards the backline. Eric Boom frankly doesn't expect them to be there, and he is just creating space at the moment so that United Nations come through for B.
Oh, hey, look at this setup. This is a pristine setup coming out from United Nations. Sure, it's on the best head glitch here on Tuscan on that half wall. Also going to get a good look at the super, just early damage, but the problem is that Henry, their comrade from behind, did fall. They hold that position. They buy enough time for the reinforcements to work their way back in through the patio and through the middle of the map. They're going to give themselves a real good look at to get inside of that beat zone. It just all comes flat as far as the gunfights are concerned. Now United Nations resurfacing themselves from the rooftops. A little bit of a flank play also manifesting on the north side of the map will be shut down. Whalers will not be allowed to get inside a church for free, but the hit from maps will be successful. So United Nations, again, relentless, trying to get themselves to this setup, and they're stopping the clock.
Sukri's Bakery, they're definitely facing the pressure now, aren't they? They've got to come through from a variety of different angles. Whalers going to be sitting in the corner at the moment watching that church cross. Takes down Yakko. Players now coming through from the spawn. Can they put a stop to it? Fortunately, they can. But there is just so much time here, right, for United Nations to do basically anything they could possibly want.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 ticks of progress to speak of. 1 good gunfight. They can stack this last tick of progress. Third is actually feeling it. They want to win this offense right here and now. The glide bomb gets called in. It doesn't find a kill, but it forces all of Sukri's Bakery to more or less concede the space for the time being.
12 versus 16 we go. Sukri's Bakery trying to hold on here in this round. They don't really want to give this round away. Eric Boom. There's a player right there. Will be called out towards Super, who does take out Jerd. Whalers now trying to come through. He will get taken down, and that is a very aggressive play for a player who's basically all on their lonesome. It basically means Abuser now has to make a solo play. He will be shut down as well. Yakko jumping about the place. He removed from the play, but 9 versus 12 we go. This is, realistically speaking, United Nations' last hit at this. They need to do it as a roster, and now look at this hit coming in from behind. Henry trying to take out Yakko. That's a nice headshot to do it. Nobody's on this god head glitch, so they have to fight this from the back line. Not very standard in terms of the play, but can United Nations make it work? Super, Sukri, Yakko, they all deal with it. They are not threatened whatsoever. There is still one player who hasn't been stuffed out, actually. It's Whalers. He will have to stop the clock. What can he do? Picks up one, look at the second as well. And Whalers, surely not. He makes this possible. Abuser now on the point as well. United Nations, they are getting a good look in at this. Super can he put a stop to it. He can get that 1 kill. Now it is just going to be Jerd on the point. He will get shut down, and we have no respawns remaining for either of these teams. But Whalers makes it close there in the closing moments.
Whalers, the rat in these Tuscany streets, man. I don't know, but you see him. The 2 players ran up that staircase, and Whalers just like, I'm just going to wait. Just going to wait a couple more seconds, and I'm going to pounce on top of him. That was, woo, that got scary, but at least you went streak for streak at the end of it all. So Eric Boom's glide bomb that they invested in their previous offense feels a little bit more justified now that there was another one that was invested for UN on that previous offense. Here comes Sukri's Baker for an offense, not trying to get all wildly through that B zone first. The only player that was trying to get a little egregious again. Can't really be surprised at this point. Might as well be Eric Egregious Boom as far as how this series has been playing for ourselves. Tries to go flying inside a church. Will be cut down immediately, and well, that was the reverse Uno card there for United Nations. The second that they found that first kill, they find the pressure over towards the A zone, while force all of Sukri's Bakery back towards the respawn.
Jerd really trying to push the issue here. Does have that strafing round in the back pocket if he does need it. That won't be used, I think, for quite some time. Jerd is kind of running back towards the play. Sukri hunts him down ferociously. Finally will take him out. So now Sukri's Bakery in for a chance here to really try and capture this point. You've also got advanced players such as Super and Eric Boom, both of which have just been taken down. Now Henry on the flank as well for United Nations. They continue to do this, Andy. They continue to send players who being pesky problems for Sukri's Bakery. And just removing them from this point capture. United Nations doing a stellar job of that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, United Nations, they're just playing as a collective team. Henry's on 6, gets himself 7, full streaks on the board. United Nations are just playing as a formidable team, as a core 4. And this has been the profile for Sukri's Bakery. Again, ex-Mavericks roster. They have extensive time played together. Quite frankly, the entire Cold War season until Yakko ended up going over towards that X-Team War roster, now known as Young Galactics. But to be able to at least play as a cohesive team. I mean, you can win out the series, sure, but showing weaknesses in the control, not exactly what you want to see. As Abusa does find 3, finds themselves an entire feed through the middle of the map, has one more player up top fire, but as soon as the 60 seconds gets added on the board, it's still a 9-life lead for United Nations.
This is rough, especially when we consider a potential round 5 later on in this control. Abusa will be shut down, though. It's important to note, back in round number 1, Sucre's Bakery weren't in that similar position, right? They were able to turn it around in lives. Do have quite a bit of time still to do it. And Eric Boom gets that advanced gunfight onto Abuser. Now Yako, what can he do onto the point? Will be taken down for players coming in from behind. So Eric Boom has quite a lot to do here in the backline. Will need to survive for maybe longer than he would normally. And unfortunately, only 1 kill to be found. Sucre's Bakery, they continue to send on players through. But every single time, it's basically 1-for-1 trades at this point.
Yeah, you can just play the trade game. You got 45 seconds to be able to find trades. You still have double the amount of lives. Now just 1 more respawn remaining for Sucre's Bakery. You have to wait for Sucre to come back up. Yako is in a position where they can't necessarily wait. They have to continue to finesse their life. They find 1, and the hit coming through from Church. Well, it's actually coming in the way for Sucre's Bakery. No respawns remaining. But you still have Yako trying to stop that clock, trying to finesse the play over here down by the column.
Sucre's Bakery have filtered a couple of players through. Abuser, how much damage can he do? He has been sniffed out. Now going to be hunted down as well. Super going to win that gunfight. You're absolutely right, Andy. Now we're going to see Henry utilize this streak. This will surely wipe one of these players out of the play. It's going to be Yako who will be shut down. United Nations now going to wipe Sucre's Bakery down to just 2 players. Progress now being made at B. It's Eric Boom and Super. What can they do? Super in the backline will end up winning with gun fight. Super gets 2 as well. 25 seconds remaining. Super now on a 5 spree. Has a glide bomb to work with 2 versus 3. Super continues on. He will now need to wipe out all of these players. 1 versus 2 for Super. Abuser and Jerd left up. 15 seconds. Super
surely
down
not.
These players makes it a 1v1.
Surely
not for Super. What on earth is that?
What? Super.
What is that?
That's Super. That right there is Super. Again, has been the breakout player for Sucre's Bakery the entire Elite so far. This guy has an overall KD of 1.31, and in control, Brody, strap yourselves in, heading into today, 2.19. That is exactly why. 23-19 on an 8 spree, wins the 1v2, went on a 1v4 for those last few kills, and found the timing onto 2 different players. Now it's United Nations. They have to win an offense. And you remember going back towards the tail end of that, they had to invest a streak from Henry, trying to make sure that they can keep that play alive to resurface themselves on the B zone, but it came up, blown up in their face. They'll be able to get this A zone very early. Again, another 2 minutes, 20 seconds on the board. We saw how that got whittled down by the end of the previous offense for United Nations. They have to win this offensive force out of round 5.
That's not out of the question. I think we do know that much. However, Super, by the way, is still on the spree from the last round. A 9 spree for him. Superman. That's what we'll call him from now on. He's almost invincible. Now looking to cause some problems. I think the good news for United Nations, though, in this play is that they have managed to capture A. So this is more than possible, but Super now finds himself on a double-digit spree, looking for some more. He won't even find any more players at the moment as the rest of his teammates are picking up kills around him. Looking for number 11. He will find it. Finally shut down there. But Sucre's Bakery done the damage early on here. United Nations. Oh, okay. All right, Whalers. Yeah, this is a pretty good start to try and capture B.
And doesn't look too bad at all, does it? But, I mean, you're going to be able to resurface yourself here if you are Sucre's Bakery. One more player. It's going to be Abusa, who's having themselves quite the day so far. Again, not the sexiest stat line in the world here in the control, 23 and 27, but they've been finding influential kills. Super is just feeling themselves. He is twisted, playing around with that door, flirting with death itself. It's just setting up the potential play to feel comfort as Yako has themselves a good look at a handful of players, but it just softens up the play for Eric Boom to make the play in towards the back. And, well, now it's all just fallen by the wayside. You had in the back Abusa with that glide bomb. Wanted the hit to be committed. Well, they wanted the players inside of maps to be able to win that gunfight. You call in that streak, you deal with the players in the back, so that way the players inside of maps, had they won that gunfight, could surge their way over towards B. Just the gunfight doesn't come all the way through. That blind trust, it is definitely... It's nice to be able to see that UN do have that blind trust with one another, but the play absolutely comes up dry.
Yeah, it's just so conditional. It's really tough, I think, maybe in that position to make that play call. However, it doesn't work out. 35 seconds left on the clock before Sucre's Bakery 3-0. United Nations in the series. Super looking for some more kills. Will find it. Surely not number 3. Jerd will deny. I think the thing is, though, with 25 seconds left on the clock, you have to imagine as soon as Super spawns up here, he brings those streaks on in to make sure that United Nations don't get a look. And here we go. Super going to keep these guys at bay. Lands it right in on the opening of maps. And actually, Jerd will use one of his streaks here, get a kill of his own. And with 13 seconds left on the clock here, it's been stopped.
Stop for the time being. 13v13. Eric Boom is in a great spot to blow up this play. Nice nade from Yako. We'll take down both Henry and Abusa, and here comes that undiscriminating fighter pilot to take down a teammate via super. 10 seconds remaining. You gotta fly if you're UN.
Yeah, you ain't touching this point.
No way.
You are not touching this point. Look at the advanced position from Sukri's Bakery as well. Even if you had the fastest trainers in the West, you ain't touching that point, not in a million years. Sukri's Bakery 3-0 over United Nations. A deserved control victory, especially as we know, United Nations, they made them work for it.
I mean, look, let's be honest here. It may be Sukri's Bakery, but the manager on the floor for the day on this Tuesday is Super. What the hell was that control? 34 and 23, 26 untraded kills. I mean, when you have the ability like Super, again, leading into this day, 2.19 KD, that's not KDA. That's not including assists. Keep in mind, real KD, it's just absurd. The clutch factor of this individual, again, you'll hear me by the end of the season sound like a broken record. I know you're probably already sick of it, Brody.
Never, mate.
The flex players are everything in a game like Vanguard, where they can do it with the automaton, where they can do it with the sniper rifle, as what we've seen from Super in previous maps as well, and also the MP40, to be able to turn around on a whim, to be able to collect the information and make those split-second decisions to be able to win, what was that, like a 1v5, technically, coming out of Church?
Yeah.
That's just mind-boggling. Frustration, I'm sure, for United Nations. They gave themselves a real good look at to be able to win offense a handful of times. It just comes up to be a play that could be blown up a handful more. As we take a look at some of these replays, it would be quite telling, to say the least. Well, we might not be able to look at replays. Regardless of the matter, Sukri's Bakery, again, will constantly put themselves in the argument that they can be the #1 seed. They beat Moneyform. If they show up in this exact formation of what we saw today, albeit rather egregious, some offenses, I'm not going to lie, but being able to resurge themselves, this has to be the team to potentially beat. Young Galactus are going to have their work cut out for them tomorrow.
Yeah, they certainly look like a roster on the rise, which is quite apt, really, isn't it, for a bakery? As Sukri's Bakery, they just look so good. I just want to see this play again from Super. It's nuts. He's already on a 6 at this point, by the way.
Found 2 on
Eric
the
Boom
rotation.
just fell. It's so huge. Just look at this. 1. Jerd challenges him. No point, mate.
There was really no
point.
Yeah.
He's beaming. Super is utterly beaming, and Sukri's Bakery, he didn't stop there as well as we move forward. Those replays looked pretty lit. Of course, Abuser, thank you so much for leaving the game, buddy. We didn't get to see how you did there in the final game, but you know what? Whatever. United Nations, we get to see 3 of the stat lines in that one, and well, I think we should probably focus more or less on Sukri's Bakery because Super finishes 34 and 23, undoubtedly the star of the show.
He was averaging about 1,000 damage a round, 7 kills per round. The only other person that might be able to make the argument for that was his teammate of Eric Boom, who was just making the most egregious plays I've ever seen all day out of this guy. And I've been casting Eric Boom for a handful of years now. But when you're able to get away with highway robbery, again, there were opportunities for United Nations to shut down Sukri's Bakery from even getting that A zone. But then they finally just resurged themselves. They're like, all right, look, maybe we're not walking away with 1v3s in the middle of the map. Maybe we can't get these overzealous plays over by the B zone. So maybe we should just play as a collective team. They draw themselves back. They play as that cohesive forward that we know and love out of the Spanish region. The Sukri's Bakery are a formidable roster. And when they can just rally around like that, it is just undeniable the amount of work that they can honestly do in a game like Vanguard.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the map set at the end of the series. Would you look at that? It's buns galore. Sukri's Bakery win 3-0, the hard point on Bacage. That was a convincing victory. Really, I think there was definitely a fight, though, from United Nations, both in terms of that search and destroy and the control, and they will walk away with their heads held high, even though I think somewhat tilted down just down to the fact that they're now, I think, 1-5, I want to say, and therefore can't qualify anymore for playoffs. They have officially been relegated. I'm going to call it now. We don't know officially, but I'm probably going to say they've been relegated. Yeah, it's as official as it can possibly get without actually hearing it from GB. So they have been relegated 1-5. But I'll tell you what, I think, overall, as we close things out here, United Nations, let's just talk about them momentarily here because their stage 1 will be over after their final match tomorrow. And, I think United Nations overall, they are a roster that I would like to see continue on with the same team moving into stage number 2. They have looked really good, of course. They had some solid moments this season. You remember they were the roster that forced Money Form to change effectively their team, bringing Beans in after a 4th place finish. So we know United Nations have a lot of talent. I think it's just kind of smoothing out maybe some of the issues they've been facing.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind you as well. Like, they're called United Nations for that exact region. I mean, you got 4 different players across 4 different countries in the European region as a whole that you honestly, on paper, walking away from Cold War into Vanguard, probably wouldn't expect them to play together, but it almost makes sense when you're looking at the other teams that were forming around them, that these 4 players would be able to find each other. You know, Jared coming back playing in Europe. Whalers needed a strong team. We know what Henry has been able to do across a multitude of different titles. And Abusa had a great breakout season throughout Cold War. I'll stand by with you as well, Brody. I would love to see this 4-player team stick together. Obviously, they still have to play their series tomorrow in the Elite. I mean, they could forfeit it. Don't do that. But I still think that they need to be able to stick together as a core 4 because they do have right fundamentals. They have the ability to be able to upset so many teams, as we did see old Money Form before we ended up having Denza be replaced by Beans. In one of those cups, they can continue to work on each other. They can continue to play off of each other. And this could continue to see growth, you know, heading in towards that Elite qualifier for Season 2 at the end of the month.
Yeah, absolutely. United Nations, unfortunately, we're going to say goodbye to them in Elite. They still do have, as you say, one more match tomorrow. That being said, I don't think it's going to have any consequences, maybe apart from the team that they face. For Sukri's Bakery, now 5-1 in Elite, just the one more match tomorrow. I believe it's a tough one as well, right? I think I'm just going to check who they end up facing. But regardless, I do know for a fact that it's going to be a tough one for them. I think they're feeling pretty hot, though, especially for Super. It's actually going to be Young Cretins tomorrow that Sukri's basically facing. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. I apologize. One of these days, mate, I will. Young Galactics, anyway, they will end up facing up against Sukri's Bakery tomorrow. That's going to be a spicy matchup, of course. Could well be a fight for the first seed in Elite. For you and I here, though, on the Clutch broadcast, we are done for the European segment of today. Of course, Clutch will be returning later on for North America. Make sure you guys return for that. We're going to bring in a couple of new casters to cover that bit. And, of course, if you want some Call of Duty in the meantime, go check out youtube.com/COD Challenges. We have Money Form going head-to-head with the Originals right now. Again, that is going to be a fight for the Originals as they are trying to survive in Elite. They want to beat Money Form. Can they do it? That is going to be the question. But for us here on the European broadcast from Clutch, that's going to be it for day number 3. We'll see you tomorrow.